9. Ignition sequence start. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. All engine running. Liftoff. We have a liftoff.
Up only.
Hello and welcome to Up Only TV. I'm Ledger. We are going to get to our Big Brain Club here in just a second. We've got a special one for you today. First, let's talk about Blockfolio. This episode of Up Only TV is brought to you by Blockfolio. Go to uponly.tv/Blockfolio and make a trade there today. You can go directly from one asset to the other. Those books are made by FTX. It's a great platform. You get a free coin with every trade if you want to collect some tethers and Doge along the way. You also get the great portfolio tracking that you've always known and loved. Thanks to Blockfolio for being our partner. uponly.tv/Blockfolio. Download it today. Now let's get to the show. Cobie, hello.
Hello, mate. How are you?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm all right. I'm going to try and take the entire next show to bully Light into turning his camera off. That's the goal of the next however long this takes. We've got too many people on the stream. I'm going to let everyone introduce themselves at the beginning, and then I have no idea what's going to happen. This entire show was Light's idea, so I'm just going to observe. Let's do intros. I'm Cobie. Vance, who are you?
I'm Vance Spencer. I run Framework Ventures alongside my business partner, Michael.
All right, let's go to Dan.
Dan, CMS Holdings, one of the three partners who started that thing up.
Sue.
Sue, founder of Three Arrows in Singapore.
Nice. Andrew.
Yes. I run Mechanism Capital. We're a crypto fund. We make primary investments in the space, and then we also trade shitcoins in the secondary markets.
And Light, the creator of this idea.
Light, I'm the asshole who got drunk and bothered Cobie until we got all of these fucking assholes on this stream, and I'm a prop trader in crypto.
You know, it is true that most of the time I'm going about my day, I'm having quite a nice time, and I look at my phone, and I've got loads of abusive Telegram messages from you. I'm I don't even know this dude. I've just got 7 messages calling me a dick.
Yeah, exactly. I think I'm manic, man. I think that you can figure out what part of the Asian nighttime versus daytime I'm in based off of how I message.
Do you drink every day, or is sometimes you're just dissing me sober?
I'll take a break sometimes, right? When it sounds reasonable, I'm definitely sober. Seuss figured out how to tell after years of psychoanalysis.
So I
can always tell now. Yeah, I can always tell.
We've got 4 of the most impactful fund runners in the space here. And Light, you're a prop trader. I'm a pleb, and Cobie's OG whale. So I want to start kind of with your situation, because I knew you, followed you, but I didn't know much about what you did until you actually went on Uncommon Core with Sue and Hasu and talked about super option stuff. So can you before we get into all the VC stuff and slinging around our bags, can you tell us about what you do as a prop trader?
Yeah, I think it's a pretty amazing game that we get to play, especially during the enormous euphorias in the cycle. I think trading, I'm a discretionary trader. It has a lot to do with just intuition and experience from previous cycles. I think about the majority of trading now is just intuition for discretionary guys in crypto. And so you kind of see things that kind of fit from previous cycles, and then you remember. So I'll just kind of step into something a bit more interesting than myself. One example is, in the past few weeks, it's been really easy to balance your book just by finding shorts, and the Koreans have been doing all the work for us, because I'm a big believer in the idea that you buy things with people that are strong shareholders, and then you fade when people have weak hands. So at 10 or 11K, you had people like Paul Tudor Jones buying, you had other institutionals buying. Those are the guys that you want to be on the same side with. These last few weeks, you find these alts that are going 3, 5x, 10x, and the Koreans are longing, and then you just immediately put them into the short side of the book, and then they go down 30 to 50%. And the reason I say this is because trading isn't really very complicated, and it doesn't really require a lot of thinking in this part of the cycle. It just requires a few tried and true heuristics and intuitions that you just trust yourself with. And I think that that's the job of a trader in crypto, because the game is so soft right now compared to traditional markets.
Wait, are you guys shorting? I thought we had an agreement.
No, fuck yeah, we short so we can long more. Because
exactly.
I'm pretty nitty, man. I'm so scared of like these sort of markets and the froth. I'm not like an ape by nature, and so like I need to have these shorts so I can go to sleep at night.
I thought we had an agreement, man. I thought we took up only seriously, and you guys are profiting on the downside. Fucking hell.
Yeah,
I don't know how I can deal with this stream now.
Up only. Do we have anybody net long on the show right now?
I'm net long.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, we're doing less kind of footwork than light, but I mean, our perspective is just we're going to hold on to stuff for a long period of time. Like, Sue and I were kind of discussing this the other day, that if Chamath had just held on to his Facebook stock in Bitcoin, he'd probably be worth $6 billion right now instead of $1 billion. And so it's definitely scary to hold risk overnight, but I mean, I sleep pretty well knowing that, you know, generally we're on the right side of history, especially with kind of this early stage tech.
Yeah, that's kind of brutal, isn't it? Like you've spent your entire life working as hard as possible, and you just underperformed the index of the first company that you held equity in.
They said that about Teal too, right? With PayPal.
Right. Yeah. I mean, no disrespect to light, obviously, but I think a lot of people confuse action for kind of progress. Like if you're trading a bunch, it seems like you're doing a really great job, you know, of something. But, you know, if you check the score a few years down the line, probably would have done better just holding. It certainly is an easier mental game, at least for me.
Yeah, that's pretty brutal for Gainsey. Gainsey's trading the 1 minute chart, mate.
Is Gainsey on our? Is Gainsey's name on our? Drinking game bingo?
Well, it looks like Vance has got a coffee.
Yeah,
I got some tea. It's 9 a.m. here. So I can't really be drinking.
Cobie, we didn't ask people to share what they're drinking when we went around the table, so I think we need everybody. You know, hold it up. Let us know what you got.
What was that? What do you have?
I'm drinking Amarula. I was trying to think of like what's an acceptable day drink. It's like
that looks like chocolate milk.
Dude, it's so good. It's South African. It's like a liqueur type of thing. You can put it in coffee, but put it in this little tiny fancy glass just for you.
It's an acceptable time for me to be
drinking whatever you want.
Yeah, it's like 5 here. That's fine. 5 is
Andrew, Sue, what are you guys drinking?
Sue, you're muted.
With some whiskey.
Yeah, boy.
Dan, do you got a 6-pack?
Find something.
Can anyone hear Sue?
Nope.
No voice. He's gone.
Sue's gone.
He's giving like all the free alpha right now. He's like
the Wizard of Oz.
This is the thesis for the next like 6 months. This is the roadmap. These are the trades you need to take, but we just can't hear him.
Dan, I was promised like a 6-pack of Keystone Light on your desk that you were just going to shotgun one after the other.
It's take it back a little bit there. No, I got coffee too. It's a little early on my schedule, unfortunately.
Wow, how sad.
I saw a tweet recently that said something like, what if you're dating, what do you say is your job when like things start getting a little bit more serious with this person? I don't know, you met on the internet or whatever. I think some of you have families, so maybe not a relevant question for you. But like, what is your excuse? Do you just tell them what you do? Do you just tell them straight up, yeah, I trade cryptocurrency. I'm one of the people destroying the environment through NFT minting. Or do you like make some shit up and say you work for TransferWise?
So I got an interesting one on this because I've been doing this for a bit. I used to just lie. So I used to just say I traded other things. Like I'd be like, I trade FX or like I trade options because I used to trade options so I could like talk about it. And that's probably in the last like 3 years, I've like started actually telling people that I trade crypto. And it really was just because like it was such a weird conversation to have like back in the past. And there's such a stigma around, like, obviously, like when Silk Road was like the big narrative around it, right? Like you didn't really want to be like telling people like, oh, like I trade Bitcoin and be like, oh, so you deal drugs. So like I'm like 90% sure to know, like my father-in-law, like I told my wife like what I was actually like doing, like was convinced for the first couple of years that I was like involved in like the most nefarious things ever. Like I know for a fact that he like accepted like sort of it and like thought I was above board, but he definitely had this like concern that I was involved in some like nether like like big drug cartel kind of thing. But I'd say in the last like 2 or 3 years, it's become like, it's like socially acceptable now. You can like say you're in the industry, right? Like definitely now, but like it's interesting to see that transition as it's like happened over time.
Depends what part of the cycle we're in. If we're in a bear market,
right?
I trade crypto.
Wait, so what do you say in a bear market?
Traveling salesman, technology.
I'm unemployed in a bear market.
Salesman, literally anything other than crypto. I think people do forget how depressing it was, a year and a half, 2 years ago.
Man.
You really did not want to be associated with 2017.
The sentiment shift is absolutely incredible, right? Like, it's always crazy how it survives and comes back faster than you expected. Because on like March 20th, I think people thought that we were roadkill, and then it comes to the grave faster than you expect it. I still remember like late January of 2018, and realizing, just looking at the tax bill and wondering if it was going to bounce and Uncle Sam was going to get his money. It's pretty incredible, the fortune reversals in this space. And I think if anything, like sentiment, somehow people never learn. And this is something because markets aren't really about the assets or the technology. They're always about people interacting with assets or the technology, that people just do the same thing every single time. And it really feels like nowadays sentiment, like the news flow is really bullish and the chart is really bullish, but people feel the same fucking way that they did in November and December of 2017. And it's so depressing once you've seen it a couple of times, because you just know people are going to get crucified all over again, and then you're going to be the one who's blamed. There was this incredible meme that Andrew, I think you sent, where like there's these two roller coasters, and then like one of them is like the people from the 2017 cycle that were on the ride, and they're all fucking skeletons, and then there's like the new like 17-year-old and 19-year-old kids who are on the ride for the first fucking time, and they're super excited and strapped in, like they have no idea what's going to happen to them by the end of this, but hopefully some of them survive and make it to the next one.
Yeah, we all have a ton of friends, right, that are asking us, like, what do we invest in? Like, what do we do in crypto? And I'm sure, like, all of us are just hesitant to say, like, just don't, like, just, hold BTC and ETH, or just, like, don't touch it, because it's just, a very kind of a frothy time right now that we're in.
Go on.
One of my neighbors, like, a few weeks ago, he was asking about Cardano, and I told him to stay away. I gave him a list of proper assets, and he thinks I'm an idiot. Like he actually thinks he's telling my wife, like, is he actually no? But with that said, like the cycle is such that like the first wave has to get really good and make a lot of money, and then everyone thinks that the real FOMO has to come from those people getting hilariously rich, actually, when they buy the assets that you don't buy. So it's, from that point of view, it's almost like very early. It's even earlier than.
So did he come back at you like a week or two later and say, "Hey Sue, I'm up double my money. How you doing?"
Actually, I refuse to talk to him. I just don't.
The first three assets my neighbor asked me about in order were XRP, ADA, and TRX, and I'm like, how does this even happen?
So he crushed all our souls, right? He crushed all of us.
Yeah. Dude, there's a certain meta, right? Oh, go on.
No, I was gonna say, did you see that video with, was it like American Hold or whatever he made about his friend who keeps asking him? It's like the most perfect thing ever. I think it mentions Cardano. If you haven't seen it yet, you have to go on Twitter and like look at it. It's just like the most apt analysis of like every one of your friends you've ever talked to about crypto and like the conversations you've had with it. It's so good.
Imagine having Sue as your neighbor and being able to ask him about crypto and then just going, idiot, wrong. That guy doesn't know what's going on. Fuck.
We've all learned how to shift gears, right? Like the meta of the market matters a lot, and like you have to understand. Like back in DeFi summer, you knew that there was only crypto money, so you kind of scratch your head and say, it's like a beauty contest, right? Like what do crypto native people think is like the hot shit, right? And now, like the past few weeks, there's one guy. His name is Avi from Block Tower. The man is a genius, right? He just sits there and he thinks, right, what are people gonna like that are currently deploying money, and he's like, let me tell you about IOTA. And I was like, whoa, that's fucking amazing, well done. Because he understands like the meta game, right? The meta game now is that you try to figure out what the Koreans like and what like your average retail punter likes if you're a short-term trader, right? And these are the money flows that you want to front run before they know that they want that shit coin, and you want to exit when they've thought that they're the genius, is I think the game that's being played, and the cycles are getting shorter and shorter, right? Like the parabola and collapse is breaking faster and faster.
Yeah, that was the only way to trade altcoins in like 2014 onwards. It was like, you just have to think what everyone else is going to think is good, because nothing was actually good. Like everything was actually dog shit. So it was just like, what are people going to like meme themselves into thinking is cool?
So how do we blend this with like the productive asset idea, right? Like how do you ride a train if there's like some kind of retail FOMO into something, but also like the ones you take seriously are these productive assets? Like Sue, what's your take on that?
We need to create the momentum. I think the it's definitely been true that I think DeFi has relatively underperformed since the recent wave of euphoria, but I think it's also because of people remember the older coins they bought, and then they look at the price and it's still below all-time high, or it's like not too, they still fall for the same unit bias. And a lot of the DeFi coins aren't even listed on some of the exchanges yet. So I think that I actually think is temporary as well, because I think that the institutional money that's coming in, they actually very much get the DeFi thesis, and they also get the amount of activity that's happening. And so I think that its time will come. It's just a matter of it's because it's a money game. Then eventually the money ball comes around, and I think that people. What I actually would recommend is like people don't try to jump around too fast to try to cash the money, because it's actually much harder to do than it is to say. And like some of these moves, like I said, like the parabola breaks very fast. So you think you're chasing the money ball, but the money ball can break while you're in the bathroom. And then you come out and it's already down 30%. And you're like, okay, well, that was a nice try. So I think like you almost even more have to be disciplined in this environment. Just be like, my time will come. Like these bags will move, like, and a lot of DeFi coins are now moving. Like YFI is moving, Wu is moving a lot. There's always stuff moving. And if you have conviction in your back, then Solana is moving, Cope is moving. So I mean, it's the kind of thing where you have to just stay disciplined. Actually,
Eighth moves mountains, but 3 arrows moves markets.
I think you have to deploy the close family member test, which is like, if you told a close family member how you lost all your money, would they call you a fucking idiot? Like, can you justify it to them? Because like, if you say, well, there was this DeFi thing, it was like a super productive asset, it was making this much in fees, therefore I thought it was undervalued relative to everything else, and here's the general thesis on crypto. Like, maybe they won't understand what you're saying and they'll think you're an idiot, but like at least you can back your own thesis and you go, yeah, well, I believed in something, I was wrong for these reasons, I can move on and learn. If you lose all your money because Banana Swap went to zero, and you tell your wife, oh, well, I lost the trust fund, I went all in on Banana Swap because they were going to do yielding NFTs. She's gonna leave you. That's it. It's over. You're done. Like, that's it. There's no way you can justify your thesis. It was going up, I think, and so I followed it. So that's the test you've got to deploy. It's like, if I invest in this and it goes to zero, is this a noble way to lose my money? Will I be proud of this, or am I going to be embarrassed and never tell anyone the truth? That's the way you've got to trade.
Dude, there's probably a Banana Swap on BSC and they're just totally euphoric right now.
Well, Banana Swap's going to zero, so they shouldn't be.
Wait, Andrew, Can you expound on you've moved from 70 IQ to 50 IQ now as the sort of like optimal approach to markets? Can you give more color on that?
Well, it kind of just goes back to your point, right? In terms of like, if you are trading on a short-term basis, which we are for part of our book, you kind of want to follow where you think people are going to be deploying money. And, when we think about retail, right, we think of, okay, like these guys are like typically like not very sophisticated in terms of like how they're choosing their investments or like what coins they're picking, right? And so like that's kind of like the 70 IQ type of mentality that we're referring to. But, this cycle just, we thought, okay, like a lot of traders thought, retail traders will start like with trash, then they'll get like more sophisticated and they'll move to like, slightly less trash, and then they'll move to like, higher quality assets like DeFi, right? But instead, like what we've seen is like just trash, like even worse trash, and then even worse trash. So it's like, okay, like the 70 IQ didn't work. We have to dumb ourselves down a little more. That's kind of the thesis.
So Andrew, we've gotten kind of percent of total book that 3AC and CMS are trading actively or like a tactical arm versus long-term stuff. But what's it like for you and Vance? And let's start with you in terms of like what percentage of your book are you active with or, swinging tactically versus long-term investments or long-term concepts?
I would say 80% of our book is more long-term, while 20% is spread across, like short-term trading, spot shitcoins versus and derivatives. And that's mostly just kind of like a factor of some of the coins that we picked on last year or 2 years ago, just appreciating in value so much, doing like 100x's, 200x's, 300x's, but because we have conviction in them, we just don't want to let them go. And they're saying that you got to let your winners ride, and we believe in that, right? Like if something is really fundamentally game changing, it's going to continue to be, and it's going to accrue significant value and network effects over time.
Nice.
For me, I think the main difference probably between me and some of the other guys is that, our business model is that people give us money and we have a 10-year lock. And in 10 years, we'll give them their money back. We'll invest in stuff and, we'll see how we do. But kind of what that makes us do is, if we can find a really good team that I trust and, a good market and a good product, our bias is to just basically hold that until infinity. And we do that with probably 90 to 95% of the Framework Ventures book. On the lab side, that's kind of where we have an entire team that's more dedicated towards not liquid strategies, but kind of market making, farming, active participation, just being very aggressive on chain. That's our basic strategy. And that's, probably another 20 or 30%. So, I think for me, I understand kind of what all Light is saying about, the things are looking frothy. But, in the next 10 years, what I'm expecting is, a Bitcoin ETF, Bitwise or Grayscale gets 70 to 80,000 registered investment advisors packaging up these DeFi assets and selling them to people. I'm expecting institutions to come into the space on the DeFi side because they see these things are cash flow productive. If you look at a firm like Tiger Global that manages $70 billion and is doing a deal every other day, they're looking for projects like this to invest in. There just isn't a conduit for them to do that. And so, the things that I'm looking at are very different than kind of the other guys. And again, no disrespect, it's just a different kind of style of underwriting. And it leads to a different strategy.
Is 10-year lock normal?
Yep, that's pretty standard for a venture fund.
Holy shit.
I feel like I want to give a warning to people here about like when you trade short term versus long term, like you want to know where you are in the informational totem pole. Like everyone knows that picture of like birds sitting on like the electricity wires and they're all shitting on each other. So like a couple of days ago, one of my friends was like, yo, man, you got to long this project because the mainnet is tomorrow, right? And you have to understand that like what information is in the Claude Shannon perspective, right? Information is surprise. So there's a bunch of people who think that they'll hear something and they won't consider where in the like human centipede process of informational sharing they are, because they'll be towards the end, right? And like, that's in a money game, that's the person who gets left holding the bag. And so I would give a word of caution to people who are chasing trends to understand that you need to know whether you're the fool or whether you're the one who's getting the information fairly early on. And then as it propagates through the system, it's really important, because if you don't know who the marginal buyer is, then you are the marginal buyer and you are the person that gets stuck. I'll give you like a story to wrap this up, which is that back in 2018, we used to play these mainnet catalyst plays, right? And there was one that will go unnamed that finally fucking got us. And so it was progressively getting more and more people are punting into these, like, buy the token a month before mainnet, and then you'll make money as it pumps into the mainnet. And these guys coming out of China, they start dumping on us like 1 week before the mainnet. And we've never seen this shit before, right? Like, and these guys caught late stages of like a bounce in June of 2018 during a bear market. And they were like, fuck these guys. We know they're front running the mainnet. We're just going to dump everything a week before the mainnet. And we got absolutely hosed holding this bag all the way down. But it's just, you're always going to be the fool sometimes, and you just need to try to figure out who the fish is on the table. And if you don't know who it is, then it's probably you.
Yeah, I remember when you remember when the market pattern was you mine, it was like proof of work coins that were launched on Bitcoin Talk, and you had to mine them to get in at the lowest possible price. Because if you were buying, you were the fool. And I remember like renting on Nice Hash or whatever, renting hash power to mine like whatever had just been released on Bitcoin Talk. And if I was the biggest hash power, I was fucking nervous. Because if there was someone with bigger hash power than me, I knew I was riding on a superior whale and they had a plan. So you just find one that's being like mined like fuck, and you just ride on like whatever. They've got a plan for it. They're going to take it high. I'm just going to slowly sell off. And if I was the main hash power, I was like, I don't have a fucking plan. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm like, I'm like going to have all this shit. What am I going to do with this? I felt very good when someone else had a plan. I follow them.
Isn't that like a lot of like this cycle as well, the blind leading the blind, people aping into DeFi protocols, and they're like, oh, okay, you know, so-and-so aped 100 million. They must have done due diligence on the code. And then sometimes you talk to them and they're like, wait, I thought you looked at it, bro. I thought you did the diff check.
Shout out Big Data Protocol.
Exactly.
Yeah. I also think that brings us nicely to Faye.
It must.
It must, I bought a previous fundraising round for Faye. I felt very stupid when it launched and went like to zero. It's a stable coin, algorithmic stable coin. Of course it went to zero. They all did. But then I saw that Rune, who founded Maker, was down like 50 million. And I was like, he's smarter than me. And if he aped in, I feel fine. Like, I felt dumb. I feel smart again now because Rune is like much, much, much smarter than me. So, how many of you got wrecked on Faye?
Vance, thoughts?
So didn't get wrecked, but put into the seed round. So just like a synopsis of kind of where we are. So the Faye model works as long as you had less than 250 million in the bonding curve. At that price, people would have gotten a discount. They got Tribe. You know, the stablecoin could have been launched kind of on good standing. When you launch with 1.2 billion in the bonding curve, and people are buying Faye at premium, and everyone starts panicking and dumping Faye and Tribe at the same time, that's kind of when it spirals and is where it is today. So there's kind of a few different ways that we can get out of this. And we, you know, is the perversity of like me and everybody else is using Faye right now. The first one is turning off the burn temporarily. The second one is using some of the PCV to set a price floor. And then the third is, you know, there's $1.15 billion of TVL or PCV in Faye right now. That is a huge weapon that people can wield and you know, to the ends of a stable coin or maybe something else, but there's fundamental value there and the team is very smart. So I think something will come out in the next couple of days that is, you know, a step in righting the ship, but it's, you know, definitely wasn't the way that we wanted it to play out, but you know, it is what it is. And this space is all about experimentation and mechanism design that's differentiated. And so the people who are shitting on Faye on Twitter, I'm just kind of like, you know, they're basically the peanut gallery. I'm not paying a huge amount of attention to them. There's still a lot there. There's still a ton of PCV, and the focus is just kind of, you know, getting out of it.
Dan?
I've done nothing with Faye. If I were to do something, I'm probably a buyer. I think they'll look. Here's the thing, right? It does have $1 billion. Like the issue that we saw is like this thing got like it got very out of control very fast, and like there's just not a lot of upside in that, right? Like let's say this thing had gone perfectly, it's like really not a great trade, probably, just because there's so much sort of already punted on it. That's like it's trading as if it's already succeeded, and then it didn't succeed. So like really, all you had was like that downside on it. Like that being said, like we probably would have done it if we had like an early look on it. We just like obviously never saw the financing side of it from that way. That being said, like I do think people such as Vance are smart. Like they back smart people. Like there is a lot of money still slammed on this thing. Everyone's panicking probably because that's just what people do in crypto. So I have yet to do anything. I have no plan to do anything. I don't understand it enough. That's like the other thing, right? Like there's just so much going on, specifically in DeFi. Like I can't possibly conceptualize like something like Faye that takes a lot of time. And like we have 11 guys in house now, like combing all this stuff, and like still we don't have dedicated resources to like figure out the nuances of that thing. But like if you put a gun to my head, I'm probably a buyer of it. Just because I think there's probably a good risk reward now that like people are starting to sort of lose their minds about the whole thing. So like, I don't know, like distressed desk. There's a guy in the desk who calls it distressed DeFi. And like, that's generally been like a good trade. Yeah. It's like when you see these things just like implode and like everyone's like really trying to hit the skids. I don't know. That's like a time where we're like come in and try to like take a lopsided sort of bet on the upside. I mean, like we did that with Sushi big and like that was like a huge win. So I'm biased that it sort of worked out in the past, but we've done it on other projects as well. But I don't know. That's my thoughts on it. But I'm really not the guy to talk to it. I don't know the nuances of it at all.
Andrew, you saved me from this thing. And I remember that apart from you telling me not to do anything, I remember just reading a variety of threads on Twitter that were like, this is 13 tweets about how I'm going to auto profit from going into Faye when it opens. And that's what just left me scratching my head because I was, and like, I did have the temptation. I have to, like, everyone's human, you know, you got to bite the forbidden fruit. And then I asked Andrew and he's like, no, like, so you just ask your smarter friends.
Yeah, I mean, it's not that Faye's, you know, like a bad project per se. I mean, just, you know, there was not very much upside in that trade. You know, you had like pretty much like everybody like in crypto Twitter, like talking about it and planning on going into it. And, you know, when you have one event that absorbs all of the demand, it's like, well, you know, who's going to want to buy it afterwards when everyone, you know, bought it already. So that's kind of the extent of that.
So Light, speaking of the auto profit, there's another project that's been under people's view that has had, you know, mixed views, but like Legacy, it was crapping all over it because it sounded too good to be true or whatever. So this Alchemix idea of pay off your loan with your loan yield. Is anybody?
How did you know to ask that? Because I was literally thinking in the back of my mind while I was walking down the street today, I was like, somehow this is going to come up, right? And so I've tried to have people explain this to me, and I don't feel like they're very confident in explaining it to me when they do explain it, because they just kind of throw up their hands and say, bro, I don't know how this works either, but I'm in it. And so I'm pretty convinced that I can't wrap my head around it, but I'm pretty convinced, like just from a Bayesian inference perspective, that it's probably some sort of Ponzi, but I can't really tell exactly how yet. And I'm very curious how it shakes out.
It seems to me like the way you get wrecked is that the yields become so bad that the payoff curve for like when you actually pay off your loan is so long that you would have been more productive with the assets that you put into it, just doing anything else because you're getting 4% or something.
Yeah, that sounds right to me as well. But that's in the future, not in the present. So, and that's FUD, first of all.
Sorry. Dan, what were you gonna say?
I think you have to like basically you're making the implicit bet that yields will stay really high, right, in some form of capacity, and that like demand for cash in the system will remain really high in particular. So I think like that's like where this thing like definitely falls apart if you like have really, really low yields, or for some reason if like they had gone to like low single digit percentages.
Wait, so was the optimal play as soon as this project launched just to take the largest possible loan?
Yes,
Just get
while
free money.
while the yields are massive, for sure, it seemed like that. Sue, are y'all playing this, or like, if not, what's your view on like the impact yields have on this market long term?
I guess regarding Faye, yeah, we looked at the seed. We ended up, I think on Algo stablecoin, just not as constructive right now on it, but I do think it's interesting experiments and people should do them. It's just not really in our thesis. I think on Alchemix, yeah, also we're watching it closely with not doing too much. Just generally a bit more conservative these days on farming. Just because I think actually a lot of opportunities in CeFi. I know CeFi is not very sexy these days compared to DeFi, but it's I mean, the volumes on these exchanges are massive right now, and I think that yeah. So our big focus has been on a lot of big CCMI trades that have been happening.
Imagine if you're a no-coiner, right? And you've been a no-coiner, but you've known about Bitcoin since 2013, and you've watched the whole thing sort of happen. You've seen a bubble, you said it was a bubble, and then you were like, it's going to go to zero. You've seen Mt. Gox. You've seen 2017 ICOs and be like, that must be it. That's surely the biggest scam they can come up with was illegal security raises on the blockchain. And now you're like, wait, they're doing loans that pay themselves off. And someone sold a digital picture for $70 million. And then Justin Sun's buying the first ever tweet on Twitter for like $5 million or something. Like they must be like, what the fuck is going on? Like, what is happening? There's loans that pay off your own loan.
Dude, thank God I'm in this space, because I don't want to see myself if I hadn't happened to be bought into this space, because I'd be so fucking angry. I'd be so angry right now.
So you just think it's like mass cope from centralized finance?
Yeah, all of my friends. So most of my friends went the traditional like finance route, and like the most underpenetrated like virgin land is actually like investment banking, private equity, and hedge fund types that are around my age, because they've been sitting around doing exactly what Cobie's saying. Like they're sitting there like, this is progressing to be a bigger and bigger scam, right? Like they're almost like being like antagonized into buying in, because we keep coming up with more and more ludicrous shit. And they're just like, oh, God damn it. I would have bought in last cycle, but now I'm not so sure. And so these guys are going to be the last to capitulate, and they have a lot of fucking money. So I think they're going to capitulate even later than retail, actually, which is very strange, because crypto has managed to somehow upend the IQ curve, right? Where like the guys who are 120, 140 IQ somehow are going to be the ones who end up with the bags, I think, a lot of the time. And the Koreans, of course. Koreans always get the bags.
It's interesting, like, too, because like crypto, like I don't know, because I've like only lived through like trading one large asset class my sort of entire life at this point. But it seems to be like one of the few instances where like retail kind of won, right? Like retail got the cost basis early, and then institutions came along after and bought it. And like you don't really see that in most traditional investments. Like I don't know. It's a very unique thing, I think, to the industry.
So my question is why? Right? My question on that is why, or how did it happen?
Oh, fuck. That's an amazing question.
Yeah. I think it's why is because like I think it speaks to a lot of people for a lot of different reasons. And like individual risk tolerance is just generally high relative to what you can do with other people's money, which is what institutions ultimately are. So like they just were the only ones able to act for so long and did act. And it also, because of its nature of growing basically from 0 to $1 trillion, like it has this problem where it's only investable to certain groups of people at a certain size. So like you've seen them just like come along as time comes, right? Like it's very odd where like Bitcoin's only investable to a certain group of people at $500 billion. So they only hit it at $500 billion. So everybody who plays smaller than that, which is always retail, like at every step of the curve as like this thing has gotten bigger, has like always participated. So I think like that's the couple of the nuances on it. And like compliance has really slowed it down, like for institutional adoption at every step. And it continues to.
I think also it's like native to the structure of the internet, right? And the structure of like open source and how these communities have developed. Like I still remember like I think Andrew Kong, he showed me Rune at like 2 cents or 1 cent. And then it was like 5 cents and I thought I had missed it because I thought like it's already at 2.5x or 3x. And then like $15 now. So like I think on average my cost basis is like 20x what he told me to buy it for the coins that I ended up buying, you know, that he went into. And so I think like there's like this concept of like where the people that have been the most active in the Discords have been following it from day one. They know the devs. Like these people actually tend to be like almost more retail, but like really sharp, smart retail, right? Like it's like they're the ones in the trenches doing all the work and like contributing to these communities. And so I think like that's actually one of the coolest parts about crypto. And the thing that when I tell people about this, like in traditional finance, they're just like, that's actually the thing that gets them really like, they're like, wow, this is like, there's something here that's not what we expected.
So Sue, when you tweet, I usually just inject it straight into my veins, but I pulled one up where you were on this point. You said anyone who rails on about inequality in crypto isn't paying attention. Crypto is the most financially populous megatrend in the history of our species. Do you think this point aligns with what you're just talking about?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it really upends like the way that things have been done, right? And that's why, like intuitively, knee-jerk wise, a lot of the economists in sort of the classical schools, they hate it so much, right? Because it just goes against everything they've done. Because what they've been taught and what they teach people is that the systems that they perpetuate are the ones that bring prosperity and bring order and these kind of things. And so to see, you know, funky internet money, to see, you know, funky communities and, you know, eclectic kind of pluralist kind of activities happening that you know seem very active and seem very vibrant. That is kind of like a big smack in the face for them. And I think that, you know, like just the other day, like a very senior regulator was asking one of the DeFi experts in Singapore. He asked him to come in and just show him how each, like he had a list of 5 DeFi apps, and he asked, like, show me these on my computer, just put it up and then show me how these work and walk me through these things. Because he was just like hearing about them and like seeing the prices and these kind of things. And so people are really starting to like pay attention now, especially now that the more traditional VCs have also started to say, okay, this is something that, you know, it seems more exciting than fintech, and it seems like it's got more momentum than fintech, which seems like just another reinvention of what we already have.
So Andrew and Vance, like I know the other guys are managing their own money. Do y'all have LPs, or you manage your own money? And if you have LPs, like what's the feedback, right? And is that like a valuable temperature check to like how your investors are like checking in on you and trying to get the temperature of the market?
We don't have LPs mechanism. It's all internal capital. We prefer it because I feel like it, you know, gives us a lot more freedom and we're more nimble. We don't have to, you know, ask for anybody's permission to do anything, and you know, we can invest across the space, right? So, you know, say like, you know, we want to do, you know, a debt financing deal with a mining operation, right? Like that's not out of scope, you know, because we feel like it's high EV, we're gonna go through with that. And so yeah, and you know, it's like there's kind of 2 ways to think about financing. Like one is through like credit, and like one is through essentially like, you know, fundraising. And like a lot of the prop firms are like, you know, like if they want to expand their operations, and you know, they'll borrow if they need to, and you know, we'll do that as well.
For us, historically, it's been, you know, a blend of our own money and institutions. Now, kind of as we go on and raise successive funds, it's kind of more institutional. But we still own, you know, more of the LP and GP share than basically any other fund that I've heard of, both in venture and kind of, you know, non-venture. In terms of the feedback they give us and just the entire process, you know, we're at a point now where every endowment, every large corporate, every foundation, every pension is now looking for a way to allocate to crypto, and they don't just want Bitcoin. And so the question we get asked a lot is, how do you get, you know, DeFi market beta? And I think things like the Grayscale large cap or the Bitwise DeFi index are great, but there's just so much alpha that you're leaving on the table via those strategies. And so, you know, we've kind of been educating all of these folks, and, you know, literally, you know, kind of to Sue's point, you know, the same things playing out in America with kind of the CEOs of some of the largest banks. You know, we're going and showing them how to do Uniswap transactions, how to use Aave, what Curve is like, what is synthetics, and they're all very interested. And so, the high level prognosis for the venture side of the world is that I think there's going to be 3 to 5 billion of capital that flows into venture strategies in the next, 3 to 6 months. And so the people who are complaining about high prices for rounds or, frothiness, they're just going to have to keep complaining for probably another few years because this money is not going anywhere. And they have a 3-year investment period where they have to deploy that capital or else their LPs are going to start asking questions. So, that's going to be the primary driver of a lot of kind of the early stage stuff, just these new and kind of successive venture funds that people are raising. And the LPs are along for the ride. Like our message to LPs is like, thank you for your capital, like appreciate it. But like our customers are these companies or these protocols. And so, we give them feedback and we give them updates and we try to work within the confines of what they're used to. But we're pretty far out there on the risk curve. It's pretty, punk rock. Like it's not something that they're used to. But they're slowly getting accustomed to kind of what we're doing, and they want more products. A lot of people are dying to see a credit fund in DeFi. That's just not in my wheelhouse. So I'm not going to do that. But like that's going to be something that pops up. There will be a $1 billion venture fund. There will be a $5 to $10 billion DeFi credit fund. Those things are just inevitable. So, I mean, that's kind of my entire read on the institutional landscape, a little bit further than kind of the question you asked, but I thought it would be helpful.
Yeah, that's good.
Vance, can I tag you as a Supercycle on Twitter?
Yeah, absolutely. I buy the Supercycle thing. Like,
Oh my word.
Who's gonna fade Sue and Vance on the Supercycle?
Dude, I'll give the Supercycle, the anti-Supercycle argument.
Sure.
So I'm a short-term guy. When I hear Supercycle, my ears start perking up because I start thinking about people who whenever you think Supercycle, like Supercycle and Sue crossing the Rubicon is the same phrase, just slightly edited of a new paradigm, right? A permanently high plateau of stock prices. They're just different breeds. They're different turns of phrase. And so when I hear that, it's not so much sentiment analysis, because sentiment analysis doesn't work in this cycle because it's so powerful, right? Paris Hilton can go on TV and shill crypto and the market doesn't collapse the next 2 weeks. Obviously, it's a different beast. But the thing that it perks up my ears is that when people believe in super cycles, it means that they are letting their guard down in terms of risk management. Because if someone believes that a super cycle exists, they don't manage risk in intersecting with a cyclical nature of a market. And I think that regardless of the new adoption of crypto that you're clearly seeing in all of the positive news flow, you see like insurance companies now with NYDIG being excited about crypto, which is bombastic to people that were around 5 years ago, because these are the most risk-averse players in the universe. You still think that humans will somehow manage to push expectations further than where the market is. And if you read the history, there's nothing new under the sun. And no matter how positive the invention, humans have managed to somehow push it further in terms of their expectations through asset prices. And this is the thing that concerns me and gives me pause. Because yes, the technology can go through a super cycle, but the way that people price assets within a market never goes through a super cycle. It always goes through peaks and troughs of excess and depression. And like I said originally, the thing that gives people experience and strength in these markets is their emotional memory of going through previous cycles. And I think that all of us can agree that the way that everyone around us and ourselves feel is very reminiscent to the way that we felt in 2017 or 2013. And that just makes me want to pump the brakes a little bit.
We're going to need Sue's response. I'm going to move on to harder stuff. I'm going to get a beer, pulling it up on my phone so I can listen to this response.
Should I wait for you or should I start my response?
No, please go. I'm going to listen.
Okay. Oh, I mean, I think those are good points, and I actually don't disagree. I mean, I think on the path there, you're going to have some pretty heavy drawback, some drawdowns, especially with the leverage in the system. But I think if you zoom out, actually, in general, the drawdowns have been far less than people have thought they would be throughout the cycle, especially even on like altcoins, right? Like especially even on like Ether, for instance, where the drawdowns have been much shallower than people thought they would be. And then on alternate layer one has basically been no drawdowns. It's like near all-time highs on almost all of them. So I think there's something to the idea that there is a natural bid in the market for the asset, and that this natural bid is kind of the drift in the equation, and then you have the oscillation around it. So I remember like I was a bit more cautious in January when we first hit 40K, and I thought like this market is going up really fast, and it's on fumes a bit. The funding's very high, leverage is very high, but then like even the dips, I thought we'd get a dip to maybe like 24, and then we got really a dip to like 29K basically, right? And it's like very firm bids. You had that big Coinbase iceberg bid, and when you zoom out, you think like, well, it just takes one guy to really want to buy in, and he can buy up all the sellers, he can buy up all the licks himself, and then that's just one guy. We have 7 billion people in the world. We have infinite fiat in the world. We have infinite, not actually infinite, but just to be a bit hyperbolic. So I kind of think that, the idea of Supercycle is not that we're going to tick up like every single day. I think it's more the idea that this is the second coming of crypto, and the second coming, usually you never want to fade because it's so dangerous to fade the second coming, right? We saw this in .com with the second coming. Imagine like Amazon re-breaks 3x all-time high like 10 years later, and then you're like fading it, and you're like, oh, this is like the echo bubble of Amazon. Like the Amazon's for sure scam, it's just dead. And so it's kind of like that, I feel. And so and to Vance's point too, where we were talking about like like the OGs in the space, and like how actually like they're really not as rich as they should be given how early they were. If they just went in a coma, they discovered crypto, went into a coma, came back, they're probably 50x richer and happier from having been in a coma, because in a coma you don't feel anything, right? So kind of coma would have been plus EV. So I think about that a lot. I think about like if there was a coma and I could go into a coma now, would I do it? Assuming that I can then live my life after. And I'd be like, press the coma button, put me in. As long as you take me out of it, right? You have to take me out of it, and then I would go in that coma. I would go in max long. It's doing the word.
Yeah. Do you get the years later, or you just out those years?
Yeah, get the years later, and actually,
all right.
Realistically speaking, you'd get way more years because longevity is coming. So it's kind of
okay.
Look, you've researched this. Don't lie.
I think this peaks at like 200 to 300K, maybe more. But like, I remember, a very dear friend of mine who's a much better trader than me told me when it was breaking 20K, and we're sitting at like 20,200 buying, and like these Bybit apes are just like selling like megs into us. And I was like, what the fuck? And he's like, remember this, because the retail thinks at like 20K that this is not a trustworthy rally. And then he said something 6 months ago. He's like, at 50 or 60K, retail is going to start being very confident that this is a bull run. I was like, fuck you, man. That's such bullshit. Like, I couldn't even imagine 50 to 60K at that point. And he's like, just wait. And then I remember that a day ago, and I was talking to him, I was like, you remember when you said that like at 50 to 60K, everyone would become incredibly confident that like, this is now a bull cycle. And I've seen this with people that are like sort of on like the lower part of the informational totem pole. And my only point would be that like, because I when you speak, I feel incredibly convinced of the points that you're making, that I'm still cautious, because I think that when you have everyone buy in to this thesis, because I think that there are very few people who are bearish of the facts as they stand, that I worry about how things can become more bullish. And on a very, I don't want to turn this to a very utilitarian conversation, but like I think April 14th will be a very interesting day, because the Coinbase IPO has people very polarized, right? Like there's some people who think that it'll be a buy the rumor, sell the news event. And this is mostly the Asians, and the Asians tend to dominate this market. Like they're always right compared to the Westerners, which is, I'll take
Also
flack for this maybe.
Also T4s.
And yeah. And then on the other side, you have some guys that are like, yo, this thing's going to price at 120 and it's going to rip up because people are just buying. They believe in the buying shovels thesis. And I don't doubt that. I think like people like Tiger Management are going to fucking ape into this thing, right? Because they believe they don't want to have pure crypto exposure. They want to have crypto company exposure because they don't understand the cyclicality of this business and how correlated it is. Obviously, I'd rather own Bitcoin than Coinbase equity right now. But I don't think that people on the one layer removed to understand this or have considered this. And so I think that it'll be April 14th will be sort of like a D-Day for crypto, where we'll see exactly what happens with these markets. And I wouldn't be surprised with any outcome. I wouldn't be surprised if it's like a December 19th CME sort of outcome up until the ETF comes in a year or so. I wouldn't be surprised if the thing reprices 50% on the list, and then like everyone decides to press the green button on everything.
Can we play pump it or dump it on the Coinbase IPO, starting with Dan?
Well, it depends. It depends what it's trading going into it, right? Like that's like the big thing. Like I really can't answer that question. Like it realistically depends on like what the price action is the week leading up to it. And like I get like we're like almost there, right? But like we have 7 days and anything can happen, and like funding's flattened out over the last 2 days. If like the world steady state is where it is right this exact second, I'm bid. If funding is a basis point an hour on FTX and the curve's 50% annualized, I'm short it. So like that's basically how I plan on, and I'm not net short, right? Like I'm just going to be winding up that thing's going to flush out the other way. And like, that's how I'll expose a short bet on the whole thing. I think Coinbase is bid crazy when it IPOs. I just like, it'll depend on what people's thought process is in that 24 to 48 hours going into it. So I that's a non-answer because I just don't know.
April 14th, liquidate light. Liquidate light on April 14th, everyone. We've got 7 days. Liquidate light.
Andrew, what are your thoughts?
I'd agree with Dan. I think like typically like when you're doing short-term trading, like you just kind of want to fade the majority of the market. Like if everybody's on one side, and it sounds like, everyone's kind of like a little bit mixed right now. There's some people that are, risk off and cautious, while there are other people that, want to go like long and strong into the event. And so, I think if we see like a shift towards like one direction, then we probably want to go the other direction. But right now, we're probably not changing our positioning up. One question I want to, pose towards Light is, we've been hearing about, a lot of these like institutional asset managers actually selling Bitcoin right now and, taking the cash and planning to put that towards, the Coinbase listing. And so my question is, do you expect these institutional asset managers to, maybe sell the equity and then go back into coin down the line if Bitcoin keeps running? Or, what would that catalyst be for them to get back into Bitcoin as opposed to equity?
That was a question to Light. Sorry, I can't handle dead air. When it happens, my voice will just enter the void. But we're dropping people left and right here. I think maybe some potty breaks or something going on. Light, are you still there? Light's out.
He's wearing shorts right now.
He's just like
the market's way out. Yeah.
Open positions here.
I'll change that question up to you then.
Yeah.
So how do I? Oh, dude, I'm back in.
All right. Well, you just had a question directed your way, but we're gonna get Sue heard it. So like Sue,
all right, Sue, go on.
Stand in.
Okay. Coinbase, right? Coinbase and people. Yeah. I mean, I think a lot of the Coinbase sellers, they'll be buying coins, right? I mean, they want to stay invested, and I think also because of the way that the market's evolved since then, they have far fewer coins, like you mentioned, than they should have. So they're going to want to buy some coins and diversify out. I do think from a crypto native perspective, the Coinbase IPO is overvalued for some coins by quite a bit, and it's not really close. So I think that aspect comes in as well. I guess like also, I think to your previous point too, like I think sometimes crypto natives, they need to zoom out a little bit too. Like I've heard a lot of people say like they're like super bearish, by which they mean they're like long spot only. So they're like 100% long. they're like insanely bearish. I'm like 40% long. And I'm just like, because I just had a dinner with a boomer the other day, and he's like, I'm so bullish. I went 10% long, and now it's like 25% of my portfolio, and it like feels really scary. But like I'm so bullish, so I'm gonna hold it. And it's just like this is kind of the dichotomy is really hilarious.
Yeah, I've gotten into the habit of asking my friends just percent of net worth deployed, and like you'll get gamut from the like 20% long crypto to like max money. One of my friends, I've convinced him to go down to step off the fucking cliff to be 11% cash, and he's like, I'm really doing this for you. He's like 6% max money, 11%. Like I'm very bearish right now. The Coinbase thing is interesting because I agree with you that I think that anyone who buys is going to get fucking hosed because the top line numbers look amazing, but anyone who buys into these numbers and prices it at that doesn't understand the cyclicality of this industry, right? Like Coinbase is going to look like a dog in 2022, even though they look amazing. And obviously this deal is coming to the market at the exact right time. I think that there's a 20 to 30% chance that the Coinbase IPO ends up like the CME listing of futures in 2017 in December. It seems to me that like there's enough people who believe that this is such a bullish event that there's enough expectation that it could really turn sour. At the same time, I think that there's a risk of an upside surprise to like 170, 180, 200 billion valuation, which would give us a green light to like pump our like really trashy bags further over the next few weeks. And I think I go back to this, there's this incredible Bluecrest thread, and you'll have to find it on your own. But the guy's view is basically if you have alpha in terms of feeling the market out, like when you go into these events like this Coinbase IPO on April 14th, you want to be as close to neutral as possible to give yourself the ability to be objective going into it. Like you don't want to be carrying a big directional position. You don't have a strong opinion as to what this is going to do. It seems like there's like 5 people here that are much smarter than me, and all of them will disagree about exactly what the effect of this IPO will be. And in that context, it seems to me as a trader to make sense to go into April 14th with a sort of delta neutral book and then just break the way that the market breaks. And I think that I'm so excited about April 14th because I think there's going to be a lot of opportunity to be had for people that have balanced their books going into it and are willing to listen to what the market says about it.
Did anyone know that Light was a bear? We've done this show and we've got a fucking bear on. I didn't approve having a bear on this show.
Bro, I'm 28% long. I'm full.
Oh my God, you're a boomer.
Light just so subtly took me to task. He's like, there's 5 people on this call that are smarter than me, and it just threw me on the back half of the centerpiece.
No, it's Sue. I've known Sue for too long. Sue is the 6th wheel.
Yeah.
For sure.
Who's gonna counter this bearish narrative? The chat just went like full out on Light right now.
Wait, so I think I have a pretty unique perspective on this one because I was running Circle Trade during the CME futures listing, and so we were doing a ton of business in 2017, but specifically in the back half of 2017 going into that event, and we had just how do I phrase this correctly? We had the most uninformed order flow I've ever seen in my life, like coming in and just lifting Bitcoin. Specifically because of the CME listing. They were like, this has to go higher, right? And I was like, no. And they're like, well, I'm going to buy it because I think I'm right. And like, not that I was saying it wasn't, but I was like, look, like we don't know. This is like the first time this has happened. But and it was just so much pumping through specifically on that narrative that CME listing meant institutions would buy it from them when it listed.
Yeah, but yo, Dan, that's the like the informational flow, right? Like those guys. I remember in October when the CME listing was announced, Bitcoin was at 6,500. And like my business partner was looking at me. He's like, what the fuck are you doing drinking at 4 p.m.? I cracked open a bottle of scotch. So I was like, yeah, CME listed fucking announced that they're listing Bitcoin futures, right? That was like, you're the top bird. And then on December 19th or whatever the fuck it was, I was in whale pool and people were like, oh, I just can't wait until these fucking 50-year-old bankers buy Bitcoin from us. And it was jarring because they thought that that's how it would happen. I don't think it's as clear with the Coinbase IPO.
So I think there's 2 things that are different. Like one is I actually think people are going to buy the Coinbase IPO when it hits. So like I'm a little more buying of the fact that like I think that equity is super bid out of the gate. I also think it's a pretty low float that's available out of the gate. So it's going to lead to some like weird pricing dynamics that I don't know as much about as like I'm commenting on. The other thing is like I don't sit in the same seat, so I don't have the same access to that OTC order flow that was coming in at that time frame. But like generally, what I've been able to glean from people that I talk to from that world still is there's not that same level of like people coming in excited about crypto because Coinbase, like that is part of it. but it seems like less of the narrative that's like going on with the order flow they're seeing versus like people are just like, I want crypto because I want crypto. And I don't know, like again, like this is like really hard to know because like you're also expecting people to like tell you exactly what you're thinking, which is like never like great. So there's a lot of inferences that is being laid on every level of like sort of this information flow. I don't know. I guess like at the end of the day is I do think it's not like, I don't think Coinbase is just going to get thrashed when it opens, which is like part of it.
Yeah, I agree. I think the big question is because people have been asking themselves. So there's two flows that are intersecting. One is like Coinbase equity sellers, and will they deploy back into crypto coins? And the other flow is, are institutionals going to cannibalize by buying Coinbase equity versus buying Bitcoin? Right, and I think that. Again, I go back to the idea that like on April 14th, I want to wake up and show up. I want to see because like you, I have no fucking idea what's going to happen. And I disbelieve anyone who has a strong conviction either way. And I think it's going to be a very important because look, after the Coinbase IPO, we don't have any clear catalysts anymore. The ETF comes 2022 early, maybe like upside surprise late 2021. So after this Coinbase IPO, we have very little in terms of things to get people excited. And so I think that April 14th is going to be a day that you want to tune into.
Anybody think the ETF can come sooner than Light's prediction?
Don't you think Coinbase will be used as a proxy ETF?
Why would you do that when you have Grayscale? I don't know. Seems like a bad trade if you want like pure direction.
Yo, I think Stu is the guy that I always want to bother about this. I think that like you got the views on this and you got the inside scoop. So
I mean, I think Coinbase, I agree with Dan 100%. Like, it's quite different from CME because CME is futures. Like, people don't wake up and buy futures. Like, there's not something that people do, but people do wake up and buy IPOs. They buy direct things. They buy new stocks. There's a whole generation of boomers that are incredibly wealthy from buying stocks every time they IPO because that's just literally minting wealth from their point of view. So they're going to view this exact same way. Stocks are at all-time highs, tech stocks, non-tech stocks, just like everything's ripping and risk on. So I think that in that environment, there's like almost zero chance Coinbase will like get thrashed. Because in general, direct listings don't get thrashed. It's just not. It's a colossal fuck up of finance if they get thrashed. Basically, like at least dozens of people will lose their jobs if that were actually happen. So I think the sort of manufactured nature of that pump is actually is in a way more manufactured than even the most manufactured shitcoin pumps in crypto. So I think that being known, I think that kind of weighs in. And then I have actually heard a lot of people say the opposite of the flow that we saw in CME in late 2017, early 2018, which is that they think that this is a shelling point for the top or like an intermediate top. They say like, well, Coinbase is the last thing to happen, or Coinbase is like a big thing. So therefore, like it will probably be the catalyst for everyone to sell. And then I heard this a lot, but then meanwhile, Bitcoin is at like is in low volatility near all-time highs. Ether is at low volatility near all-time highs. Yeah, shitcoins are pumping, but it's bull market. Like weird things happen in bull markets. Nifties, yeah, they pumped and then they come off. It's like putting the shitcoins and the nifties aside, like Bitcoin and Ether are at low volatility at all-time highs. I don't see much reason to panic. I mean, it's not like before where, the market ran up 3x in a month and on anticipation of CME. Now it's very steady and dips are bought. Shitcoins can dump 30% and then Bitcoin dumps like, 2%, 3%. So it's not, I think it can be risky to be like too flat into it, thinking you can get back in, especially if you have size, because it could just rip like 10K, right? Or it could just rip like 3K and then you're already off size immediately and your slippage is high as well. So it's tough.
I think that hits home, right? Because I've been sleeping uneasy lately because of the idea that I think it rips past 60 without me. Yeah. Like it's unquestionable that it looks bullish, right? There's obviously institutional accumulation.
Just FOMO now,
man. You don't want me to swing fail it. Like it's unquestionable, right? That because it doesn't take a rocket scientist to see that like the news flow is bullish, the chart is bullish. And then the question becomes like, I think the directionality is that like everyone expects a break upwards. And that makes sense to me. And I think that it'll probably happen. If it doesn't happen, it'll be savage, much more savage on the downside than it will be on the upside. We see like supply inventory running out, right? With the higher lows constantly. And like you see institutionals bidding, but the quality of institutionals is way different than the Ruffers and like the Stone Ridges and the PTJs of like 11K and 13K. Like you have like a much different set of class. Like you have like failed AI apps in China buying Bitcoin now. And you see like Sailor like finding change in the cushions to buy Bitcoin. Now it'll probably break up, right? Like 60 or 70% of the time, but like the break will be one that's expected versus the move down, if it materializes, which will surprise people, and it'll be so incredibly savage as to like, it'll really make people's skin stand up on edge because everyone is so minted now. And like, if that materializes and we get to like 40, 30K, I just can't wait until the moment where everyone who's bullish right now at like 50K, they'll become more bearish. And at 40K, they'll be crying for their fucking uncle. And like, I can see that happening if things don't work out. And so I'm just trying to position from risk perspective for that. I know I'm a much shorter term guy than everyone else. And I agree with them in terms of their views. Like it's unquestionable that there's nothing bearish that is happening within the narrative space.
Bro, when it rips to 70K in a single candle, what are you gonna rebuy at? Are you gonna rebuy? Are you gonna wait for a dip?
I'm still up. No, I'm still up. I hope I'm still up so I can FOMO in with you guys at 60K. But from a trading perspective, I'll tell you, like the gap between 57 and 60, like, look, I'm not like Stu. I don't need to buy like $3 billion of fucking crypto. You know, like I can buy a couple $100 million and I'll be all right.
That's a nice flex too there.
Yeah, I have enough liquidity that I can get back in the game. And so from a risk return perspective, I'll let you guys take all the risk and push it back up over 60. And then once it's over 60, I come join you guys and we can celebrate.
Yeah, you can buy it at 100K once you've confirmed it's going up.
From you? Right?
Is a confirmation of the bull market at 100K.
I'm waiting for 100K to confirm that I know that it's bullish. Anything less, 99.9? Nah, you don't see me there, bro. Like 100 and over.
On the Coinbase IPO, the things I would add are this is the most compelling IPO since Facebook, and then before that, Google. Like you just don't see this type of revenue and growth and EBITDA margin in any other industry. And these new types of, and Light will kill me for this, like paradigms, don't come around every day. And so this is going to be kind of the new avant-garde for valuations, you know, for crypto and for even kind of companies that are looking to get into crypto and for projects and coins and everything. The other thing I'll say is that, you know, people have been calling the top on tech in San Francisco for almost 20 years. You know, Snapchat at $1 billion when Facebook tried to buy them, that was a scam. You know, Uber, also a scam. You know, these things just kept getting pushed up until they realized their fundamental value and reached escape velocity. And so I think this is kind of another example of that. And you know, rather than kind of like reasoning through analogy with the CME futures launch, I think a better comp is just the tech ecosystem after the past 20 years. And so this kind of really reminds me of the Google IPO, where, you know, after this savage bear market, there was one winner. You know, they came out, they institutionalized the space, and then it drew a lot of other people towards it. The other thing I'll say is that in 2010, you know, people did not know that companies could be worth $1 trillion plus. In 2020, we now know that $1 trillion plus is a reasonable outcome for these tech companies. And so,
or Filecoin. Filecoin's already worth $1 trillion. It's just because there's so many files.
Yeah,
all the files.
And so people are going to price this kind of with that expectation. And I'm sure by 2030 or 2040, we'll see a $10 trillion company. And so like these valuation heuristics will kind of keep up with people's expectations of the future, which are just constantly expanding because you're just seeing a tech expansion in the market itself. That's why Tiger Global is writing these huge checks with a $70 billion fund, not because they want to, because they know that they can get a good index on the entire tech ecosystem, and that's gradually expanding. So I think the Coinbase IPO is extremely bullish. I'm going to be buying as much as I can personally, not in the fund. I think they have some questions about cyclicality and just their general strategy. Like, I don't know that they've ever been known to have a clear strategy, but there's just so much optionality. There's so much growth. And this is not an industry that you can really get exposure to outside of this specific equity. So I'm super bullish.
You had me.
I just want.
Go ahead.
I want to tell. Sorry to interrupt. I want to say something to people that might be listening to this, in that like, I would always default to Vance and like Andrew and Sue, and even fucking Ledger and fucking Cobie, and even CMS about this, because like I'm a short-term trader. Like I make my bread by trading prices and like fading expectations. But like when it comes to strategies, these are the guys you need to listen to about like how markets develop, because I trade human beings over the course of like a few days to a few months, and these guys trade ideas. Oh,
Is this human trafficking?
Yeah. But like, you see what I'm saying? Like, I don't want to like have anyone cling to like a bare view from the little that I've said here, because I'm a trader, right? And I just trade these assets as speculative vehicles. But I think that the people that are on this stream with us have a much clearer view of the future than us. And that's not something I'm strong at. So I just want to make sure that like no one grips onto what I'm saying and views the space as bearish. Because it's unquestionably...
The chat already disowns you, Light. There's a bear.
Worried about the memes.
Yeah.
Go ahead. Sorry.
Everyone has to have a villain.
If it is the macro top, though, this is going to be an epic stream when you look back. And there's
he's going to do it, right? Dance on us forever.
I always capitulate right at the top. That's how when the bears are all dead, that's how you know it's the top.
Sorry guys, I got a jet, but this has been great.
All right.
I know. I didn't know how long this was running, so that's on me.
Go ahead. I've got I had one more question for you.
Is it quick?
Come on, one more question.
All right, I'll do a quick one.
The Coinbase earnings, are they going to basically get a discount for the correlation to Bitcoin's price? Because like their earnings are going to be shit in a bear market or down or whatever. Like it's going to be pretty correlated. Do you think that they'll get forgiven for that in the expectation game, or do you think like when the big bull cycle slows down that'll like punish them even more so?
I think they'll get punished more.
Okay.
So Dan, I think it'll whip harder.
Dan.
All right, thanks guys.
Thanks for being here.
Who should we replace Dan with?
Alex Weiss. Alex Weiss is
dude. I think
he's in hospital.
But I think he wanted to call in. I think.
I'll text him now.
Sue, I'd like to get your additional input on the Coinbase like impacts of like Bitcoin volumes and the variance in that. Like they're IPOing at the perfect time. They planned it this way.
Tremendous timing. I think is and I think. It would bring so much volume to Bitcoin too, because every mom and pop will be interested in buying it, but also every equities fund, long-only fund, will be looking at it and deciding if they want to buy it. And then that'll generate volume into GBTC, because people will be like, okay, how do I, because people love a good spread trade too. They love a good pairs trade. So then they'll be like, okay, I buy coin and then I sell my GBTC, and then maybe later when it goes up, I buy my GBTC back and I sell my coin. And, this kind of creates a ton of liquidity in the market, right? And it kind of bridges, I see it as the true bridge between the tech valuations and the tech and the US equities markets and crypto markets. I think GBTC for a while, it served as that because it was in the US equities market, but people don't realize that that's only on one segment. So it's on the OTC, it's called. And because of that, you can't even buy GBTC at all brokers. You can't buy it in most pensions. You can't buy it in a lot of countries even. So this you can buy in every single country. It's a proper stock, and so like there's pretty much no chance that it's bearish from a flows point of view. I think whether it's bearish from a sentiment point of view because everyone anticipates it. I mean, the price action to me does not indicate that people are pricing in a big pump into Coinbase. It just doesn't look like that. I mean, we've reached 60K like weeks ago, right? I mean, it's not like it's not something that you get a blow off top on in Bitcoin on, right? So
yeah, I think that Andrew, you can probably. I think we're on the same boat on this. It seems to me that like BTC and ETH are at very different stages of their cycle. They're like mid-cycle compared to alts, which may be ready to take a little guillotine down. Just because we had our fun over the past month or 2 months, while we've been waiting for BTC and ETH, but like sometimes it's as simple as looking at the chart and seeing that like there's like higher lows and like a horizontal resistance, right? And like there's inventory that's being sold at 60K, but like what happens? Like you got to ask shorts and bears, what happens when it goes over 60K, you know?
Yeah, I mean, I think this market is quite complex compared to where we were 6 months ago, just because there's so many more market participants, right? Like you have like Korea, China, like Vietnam, like US, like South America, like they're all like here in full force now. And within like all of those countries and geographies, like you have different layers, right? Like you have like the highly sophisticated guys, and you have like the very retail guys, like, and each of those guys have like their own kind of portfolio allocations, and so some might be like very heavy BTC, some might be like 100% alts, and so like when like a major market move or event happens like this, we try to kind of analyze by like each different market segment and how they'll be impacted and how they're going to react, and it's just really hard with so many guys in here. But I think like the difference between this cycle and last cycle is that you have a lot more guys towards like either end of the spectrum, where they're either 100% alts or they're 100% BTC or they're 0%, right? And they plan to go maybe like dip their toes into BTC. And so I think if the market does pull back a little bit, people get wrecked. There's going to be guys that are on 100% alts and they get wrecked and they have just no money to buy anymore. But you're still going to have the guys in BTC that are buying. They take like a 5% drawdown, and that doesn't discourage the guys that have been planning to buy like 6 months ago, and they're like, okay, we're going to do our first deployment in June or July. That's not going to discourage them, right? Seeing a small drawdown in BTC or ETH.
I mean, Sue, I think we talked about this, but how surprising is it that fucking alts got nuked 2 days ago and BTC dropped down 4%? Like, I was very surprised that like the contagion didn't spread, right? And like as soon as I saw it holding 56, I was like, fuck. Like it's kind of clear like what's happening on the bid side, right? Like because like you'll have some of the trash collapse, but like I thought that would spread a decent percentage of the chance into BTC, but like you don't see it. Like it got to 56, and that was the most comfortable dip I've ever seen in my life. Like there was no capitulation, there was no panic, and people stepped up and they bought, and like it seems just inevitable about what's about to happen. Like apart from any sort of very negative regulatory news, I have a very hard time imagining that like we don't just progress further after we soak up the inventory.
Mm-hmm. I think the other catalyst for retail adoption in the US at least is just growth marketing dollars. Historically, Coinbase has spent no money on growth marketing. When you have $100 billion in market cap, that's something that you can wield. FTX's $135 million stadium rights deal. That's not going to be the last one of those that we see. We're going to see really intense growth marketing on Facebook, on Instagram, on Twitter. They're really going to back up the truck to acquire users so that they aren't as affected by seasonality. Like they're not stupid. They're gonna fight against this. And so you have Coinbase going public. You have Kraken probably going public. You have another one of the big ones probably going public. And these guys are all going to be deploying growth marketing dollars with roughly the same strategies. And so this thing will only kind of expand into the zeitgeist as that happens. And I think that's kind of one of the things that people really are not anticipating is seeing Coinbase on your Instagram feed.
So everyone apart from Light seems pretty macro bullish, at least in the next sort of 6 months or so. What is your plan?
Bro, I'm totally macro bullish as well.
No, like you're a bear.
Greedy.
You've got a bear. You've got a bear logo on the Twitch. You're a bear. What is your plan when that sentiment shifts in your mind? Do you think we get like a 50-60% nuke like we did every previous cycle, or do you think it's more boring now? It's more like stocks and it's just a slow bleed. How do you plan to trade it?
I can kick it off. Our goal and DeFi kind of will reflect this is to make all of these assets, mostly alts, I guess by kind of your definition, cash flow productive, and actually give them to our LPs rather than sell them. They want cash flow productive assets, and we have some that we want to give them. And so, those cash flows will become smaller in a bear market, but I think a lot of these coins will still be yielding 1, 2, 3, 4%, at their lows. And that's just something that you can't get elsewhere. And so for us, if that happens, it's still a win. And so we're not really planning on trading out of anything. We're planning on holding on to all the good stuff. And for the more liquid stuff like Bitcoin or ETH, I think it'll hit 300, 400, 500K, maybe sell a little bit to get liquidity. But largely, I think the story and what I've been taught by the people that I've learned from is, over the past 20 years of venture, the two things that you really don't want to do are be price sensitive and sell too early. And so,
Vance, can I ask you, you sold like sometimes, right? Like what gets you to sell?
Chainlink.
Do you know the one that I mean, right? Chainlink, but there was one, it was like Wi-Fi, right? Like,
yeah.
How do you get to that point? Because I think that it's such a dreamy world in which like you hold with conviction. I've been trying to learn that from you guys, but then sometimes even conviction players sell, and I think that's super like illustrating to know like what that thought process was.
Yeah, we have kind of three broad kind of categorizations for when we sell things. One is if the full kind of realization of the network has been hit. 2, if there's infrastructure to kind of trade out of it. And 3, if there's enough room for us to step back, as kind of like this bastion of stability for the network itself. And it's really hard to meet all 3 of those criteria. But, for us in terms of when we sell things, usually it's just for risk management and rebalancing. We kind of try to hit all those 3 criteria, but the larger perspective is if something becomes, 60, 70, 80%, 90% of your personal book, probably look to take a little bit of risk off the table. And it's different for our venture fund, which is just biased to hold. So, those are kind of the criteria and a little bit of how we think about it.
We've got Cryptopathic in the stream. Path, do you want to say hello?
Hey guys, can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Cool.
Path, we were talking about the Coinbase listing, whether it's going to be the top or whether it's going to be a catalyst. You got to tell us.
I think it's good. I like the chart, so I'm not too scared.
You like the chart?
Yeah.
Yo, can I say something about this, by the way? Fucking everyone in crypto just looks at charts. And I want to counsel you guys against this because everyone defaults towards looking at charts because they're the one thing that all of us see. But like, there are things that operate within these markets, and like Plato's. Shut up, Cobie. There are things that operate in these markets apart from Plato's cave, right? When you see like the chart is like the shadows that are projected on. When I came to Asia, I always wanted to learn about like what Asia was doing. And like there were like people that were like, yeah, we
lost him.
That was amazing. That was amazing. That's the end of it. That's the end of the fucking story. Bro, I don't know if he's like super wasted or if this is what he talks like. Like
Sue, is this normal?
I think so.
So Sue, are you just like constantly walking Light back and like making him hold his bags? Like, are you just the support that he needs in life?
To his credit, he was bearish before March 2020 when not that many people were. So he's got a good bear pedigree.
Yeah, he's fully left. He's fully left.
Oh, he's actually left. Bear is actually dead. It's like that meme. Bear's dead meme.
Just ruining my scene setups here.
Path joined and the bears die. That's the way it goes.
He's back. He's coming back in. But this is all.
Wait, does anyone remember what he was talking about? I think I've been drinking more than everyone else.
Dude, I just cracked my third drink. Like, I feel like I'm the only one taking this seriously right now.
Wait, you guys are at 3 drinks? Fuck.
I'm on my second bottle of wine.
Oh, you're deep. I'm halfway through a bottle of whiskey.
Wow.
Looking at it now. All right. Good luck to everyone who's waking up on the West Coast.
Anyway, you were talking about Plato's Cave and what's happening in Asia.
Oh yeah. So in Asia, that we have this saying like "我要割韭菜," right? I want to cut leeks, right? And so the Asians have always understood that we want to fucking like these are speculative vehicles. We want to harvest and sell at the top. The Westerners have always viewed these as assets that were investable. Big mistake, right? And Cobie, you know this to be true, right? You've seen enough cycles, right? Where like Feathercoin was an investable asset. And I think that like now that I've moved over to Asia over the past 9 months, I've understood that they get the game much better than we did in the West. And good for them.
I can tell now that you are truly wasted. Like, it's starting to click.
Right? No. Hold on. I'll get the breathalyzer. Let me tell you guys what I blow.
Bro, people that own a breathalyzer, that means you've been convicted for some alcohol-related offense. No one owns a breathalyzer. Like,
it's
if
a
you don't
trading
have problems with
perspective.
alcohol.
Hold on.
It's like blow to 0.1. I'm not allowed to take a trade right now.
No, it's literally it's actually 0.01. We have a rule. We have a rule. Above 0.01, no trading. Okay. Only longing above 0.01.
All right. So let's say that the rest of the chat does not think it's like imminent.
Oh, 0.18. Uh-oh. Uh-oh.
I think what I'm curious about is how quickly can things unwind, right? Like prices go down, you get some contraction in the market, yields start to go down. Vance, you were talking about like you think it bottoms 1 to 2 or what did you say, like 2 to 4% yield or something like that. What does this scenario look like, right? Because most of these you typically at least have some exposure to the token itself of the protocol, whether that's the yield or if your underlying is the base token. So like what is the bear case of a fundamentally bullish sector, right? Like, so like how do you survive like through that bear market? How do you take advantage of the downturn?
Yeah, so I think, there's so many different sectors in crypto now, and there really was not in 2017. And so I think you're going to see, unwinds in NFTs, in DeFi, in Bitcoin, and Ethereum, just at different parts of their life cycle. Like the market is getting less correlated relative to 2017. And so like a good example of this is, and this isn't on the yield side, is NFTs. So NBA Top Shot, the peak market cap of Top Shot was about 1.8 billion. And right now it's about 800 million. And they've been on this kind of slow drawdown over the past 6 weeks. And I love NBA Top Shot. I built a product similar to it in a past life. But I really love kind of those Reddit forums as my primary kind of sentiment orientation for retail. And so, NFTs are going to go through their bear market right now. All the B20s are down. NFTX is getting killed. Top Shot's way down. But what's happening in the background is that all the people who came in because of the speculative fervor on the developer side are now starting to build out their projects, and those will come out in Q3 or Q4. But NFTs will probably be flat to down until then.
Path, you own $10 million worth of NFTs.
Yes,
what are you got to say about this?
I agree.
Grimes.
No, it's fine. I'm expecting a bear market for NFTs mostly because it's so saturated now, and I don't think there's really any money in like flipping them. Like all those people are gone. They've exhausted it, and you're getting more and more people come into it finally. So I think we'll see artists continue to make a lot of money, but there won't be that much money for collectors for now. Like I think you're looking at a much longer time horizon to make your money on that. But I still think there's some good opportunities there.
Do you think you're ever going to make money on the things that you bought?
Do you know the thing that you bought the other day of a girl showing off her manicure and then eating a strawberry?
That was amazing.
Are you going to profit on that?
Well, it got like however many likes, right, on Twitter. So, that's already doubled the value of it easily. Already great controversy. It's PR. It's not bad PR.
So on the non-NFT side, I think you've talked about before publicly that you're not like super into the NFT side, but if you are, let us know. But on the non-NFT DeFi side, like, what are your thoughts on taking advantage of contraction in the market?
I mean, in terms of yields coming off over time, or in terms of what?
Yeah, yields lowering because of more money pumping into them, or if there is a down market and even if it's not full bear, but there's contraction in DeFi, things just look less attractive. Like how to play that mini cycle.
I think there's still a lot of interest and there's a lot of new development coming out. Right? So I would stay pretty close to what the devs are doing and then what products are coming out. I mean, I think that's always been probably the best approach in terms of fundamental catalysts. So I think like youre is doing some interesting stuff now that the market's paying attention to. I think whereas that had been steady for quite some time. I think for a while it was like it was a top 3 market cap DeFi coin, and now it tanked to as low as like top 30. There's like random new private sales that are higher market cap than Wi-Fi, right? So I think stuff that kind of has gotten overlooked and has underperformed are good rotations, I think. Especially if you sell sort of the bags you feel are overvalued, then you can buy some stuff that's undervalued. I think that those rotations will play out generally. And I think also, there's a lot of stuff that pays you to be long, so you don't have to think about it too hard. Even if it draws down a bit, it's the people who own it won't want to sell it either because they've already seen a few cycles too where when you sell it and you're wrong, you never get it back. There's no way to get it back, and so that kind of creates the firmness in DeFi prices that we tend to see, and also the leverage is much lower in the DeFi market than in say like some of the coins that have gone up recently. So I think that there's just not as much of it. I don't think that you're going to get what we got in like the first DeFi winter where stuff went down 70%, and that's because that was really the first blow off top, right, that we ever had in it. So there were a lot of new money being printed, guys that went from like 0 to $1 million, and they wanted to lock in life-changing money. And I think now we're kind of in the big leagues, right? We've kind of gone through that, we've gone past that, and so I'm not too worried about that at all. And I do think that rotation in between DeFi, I think dispersion will continue to be high. I think that that'll pay off for fundamentally minded people, I think, more so than pure trading. I think definitely a lot to pay attention to.
When you say dispersion, you basically mean like a lot of tokens, and the equity isn't going to be equal, right, in terms of how it's split between them?
Yeah, and I think that especially in this kind of a bull market where people are really kind of it's like moths to a flame sometimes, right? Or where things are pumping one day and then dumping it another day. Like I mentioned before, like the intuitive way that some people treat it is like, well, I have to like be in front of the next pump, before the next pump. But like because it's so fast, you're better off trying to play still the fundamental theses and then figure out because those will get noticed over time too, because it'll have its day. And also because of this kind of pump nature, you should almost think like your own backs can also benefit from this one day too. And when it does, you don't want to be caught in stuff you don't believe in anyways. So you're just going to get whiplashed very, very hard, right? I mean, talking to traders who like try to play alt to alt in like late 2017, early 18, like 1 in 20 of them actually net made ETH or made BTC from actually doing it. There's only a handful I know that actually net made money from doing that, right? Like, so I think that playing stuff that you don't really believe in the cycle, at this part of the cycle, like you have to be really disciplined. Like it's doable. If you watch the microstructure, it's definitely doable. I think I tweeted about some interesting microstructure stuff that was happening on BitMEX a while ago, and there are things that are happening that if you follow it really closely, you can play, but it's not something that you can just like you don't want to do it just because you want to be as dumb as everyone else. It's not a game that you will win, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean that fits with like my view as well. Like, for the past, I'm sure you guys have seen 3 months, I've been on a Twitter holy war to like turn around Wi-Fi. And, it's like this beleaguered coin for like the longest time. And like the devs were kind of like a shit show for a little bit, but, then we minted a bunch of Wi-Fi and we paid them. And it turns out that plus V2 equals, 2.4 billion in TVL. And like the catch up flows are starting to come, and I'm sure they'll come more. But, it's like, do I sell, all the Wi-Fi I have and try to get into, something that's hotter, that's a little bit, I know less about it, I don't know the team. That for me is an easier call, because, all this stuff is open source. Like if you really want to change something, you can roll up your sleeves and actually go and do something. And I just think that gives you such a better edge than betting on things that you don't fully understand, especially with, vesting schedules that you don't know. And it's just, a lot easier to kind of bet on the stuff that you know.
Every time I send Path the Wi-Fi chart and say it looks good, it immediately dumps. I'm like, bro, Path, you should long this. It looks good. And he longs it and it just goes down.
I learned my lesson.
Oh, Andrew, you were responsible for a Wi-Fi squeeze at like 8K, right?
Yes.
Oh yeah. I don't know if I should talk about it. I feel like there might be like
you have to now. It's on the.
I remember this. Yeah. I remember this because I was looking at it. I was like, I want to go all in Wi-Fi 5-6K. There's, my smooth brain. Sorry, light. Like looking at charts. I'm like 5-6K. Give it to me. And then Andrew was like, hey, there's this gigantic on-chain short at 8K or something, and it bottomed at 7.5 or something. So you were in charge of that, right? So tell us the deal.
He's got a hat. He's got a hat, so we have to trust him.
Or buy anything. But no, there was somebody shorting it, like it was like $5 million or quite a bit of like Wi-Fi, like, and did it on chain, right? And it was like all in like one account, so he like borrowed in one address the Wi-Fi, and then he sold it in the same address, and it's just like, okay, like we know what you're doing. And we saw that his like he kept doubling down, right? Like he would make the price go down, and he'd borrow more, and he'd sell more, and so like he was like very highly leveraged. And so like we're like, okay, like this might be a good opportunity where someone's over leveraged, and you might have to force him to buy back, unfortunately.
How disappointing!
And so we told a few people about it. And, the internet, decided to kind of jump on that.
What do you think happened with mobile coin? Do you think someone was
dude, so good.
million short or whatever?
I wish Dan was here because
dude, Dan, no doubt was like perma.
He's got some theories. He's got some theories, right? So we got involved in this, and we got involved at like $9 to $11. And we had the good fortune of having a friend that knew like the OTC broker. But this thing, like, there's a 5% chance that someone pull off the greatest heist of all time, right? Because they just memed the short squeeze into existence. Mob is fairly opaque already. And like, I could see that happening, but like, we just all piled in on this thing. And like, I think it'll be amazing to see the book that gets written after this about what exactly happened, because I think some guy who was hedging a SAF very poorly got cooked. And I think, Andrew, you kind of showed me this about how like BitMax token was getting fucked every time that this thing would pop. So I think there might have been, it was probably a SAF sort of deal, and some guy who was a little too smart for his britches.
He shorted a bunch of it because he wanted to sell to lock in profits from his SAFT, and he's now like liquidated.
Yeah, exactly. And this guy was buying OTC
infinite
like
collateral to continue his hedge.
He was buying 50% premium to what the spot price was, so we were just buying FTX and just dumping on him. It was kind of it was one of the most incredible. Yeah, it was. Right? It's like one of those sad things, because in 2017 I used to get in these spots where like everyone else is making money, and then I'd be like short, and I'd be like, I hate you guys. But like now I feel his pain, because he must have lost like $200-300 million minimum on this spot
when he should have made. I think
it might have been more than that.
Yeah, he thought he was making a really smart move, and then everyone just like brought back the tide and just fucking rinsed them really badly.
Bro, what do you even do? Has anyone here lost $200 million before?
Vance is like doing the math. It's like,
I lost 110 yesterday, but that was it. Yeah. I saw 3AC was negative 100 million on the Bitfinex leaderboard once, but
right,
it went back up. It went back
up. Funny,
by the way.
I saw this funny tweet the other day where like I think there's some bank they came out and they said they lost like 3-digit millions or something on some trade, and so you can never really lose like that much. You just because when you lose a lot, I think about it in BTC that it's not so bad. You know what I mean? Because like it's just like a small drawdown in BTC, right? So
unless you lost in BTC 7 years ago, and then you do the mental calculations to today, because I lost $200,000 in 2014. Which happens to be 1,000 Bitcoin. That doesn't feel very good today because it's a lot more now.
Actually, we have this meme internally at Theirs where like we use the word like dollar pleb a lot, and it's like we talk about a trade or an idea, and then we're like, this is something like a dollar pleb would do or think, because they'd be like up X amount of dollars, and then they'd be like, I need to get out because I'm up so much dollars or I'm down so much dollars, and then so it's like. I think being a dollar pleb actually is very dangerous in this bull market, because as soon as you make like some money, then you're like, okay, I'm up so much dollars, I can buy these things in the real world. But what are you gonna do with it anyway? It's COVID everywhere, right? So like you're not gonna use it. And is it gonna make you happy? No, but coins could make you feel like you have that need, right? So I think that's kind of the reality of the entire the cycle, right? Where people who like. And that it's almost like a beautiful poetic proof of work that's been happening of the distribution of coins, where people who believe in it and people who understand it, they are the ones who still have the coins now. And there's been so many chances for non-believers to come out and be like, okay, I can go buy my Lambo, I can go buy my, I can go buy that. Well, you have all this stuff, but does that make you happy? Does it actually do anything for you, right? And then they're like, oh shit. And so like there's stories about people. I remember there was a trader I knew down under, and he actually sold his Lambo to buy stocks in 08. And that's like such a baller trade to do, right? Because it's like, I have this Lambo, but why do I need a Lambo? I'd rather own stocks. And so like I just tell people, like I know some crypto people in Zebra that are like, they're buying flashy stuff or whatever. I'm just like, like the correct flow is to sell that thing and buy more of what you own. That's actually where the trend is going. So I think that's kind of what I would say about losing or making dollars.
But at some point he bought a Lambo, right? What's the most baller thing anyone in here has bought? Path, it's going to be like Pokemon cards. But I bought a rare Charizard. Vance, what's the most baller thing you've bought?
IRS is listening.
There's a couple funny ones. Mostly life has not changed at all, I'll say. I'm very much of Sue's perspective where the scoreboard is the scoreboard, but it's not like I'm going to liquidate all this money and go buy like Lambos and a bunch of new houses. They just more houses are just more work. It doesn't actually make you very happy.
You can only live in one.
I like investing in things like low income housing. I think that's pretty interesting. Light knows a couple of the things that I've done.
Wait, are you going to become a slumlord?
Please give me the trailer. Please give me the trailer when this all is said and done. I feel like Vance will be a very good what is it called? What is that Canadian show with the fucking what is that Canadian show with the fucking
Trailer Park Boys?
Yeah.
I enjoy
That's
that.
my dream.
Yeah. But nothing crazy, honestly. It's until probably 7 months ago. Michael and I.
What happened 7 months ago? I want to know what happened 7 months ago.
I'm going to dock myself too hard, but yeah, Michael and I were still living together in pretty reasonable apartment in San Francisco. Really nothing has changed at all.
A reasonably sized house. All right, I need to take advantage of this situation because I'm with a bunch of gigabrains and billionaires and crap, and I'm just like a lowly back half of the centipede pleb, and I need help. How do I level up? How do I go from the back half of the centipede up to the front half of the centipede?
I got the answer to this. You just got to survive in crypto, man. There's so many guys so many good friends of ours that either fucking fell sideways due to the pressure and they're not here with us anymore, or they got torched by being too greedy. I think that the key with crypto has always been just survive. Just keep being there, and like you will fall into success.
So like I don't have to be talented at all. I just gotta
No.
You'll fall into success and Zcash.
No.
Zcash was inevitable.
Yeah. Don't do that. Zcash is a very expensive habit.
As Prometheus of the plebs, as someone called me on Twitter, I need this advice. I feel like I'm just going to absorb it on behalf of the chat.
Yo, I have this thing written out. So like, there's a bunch of new guys that are listening to this, right? And like a bunch of old hands that are kind of depressed with where they've gotten, and like, I think all of us probably vouchsafe for the fact that like, it doesn't make you any happier to make more number. And like, it's always been about the friends that you make along the way that make you really fucking happy. Like I've gotten to the point this cycle.
Sorry, I muted myself. I was gonna say that's what rich people say.
Yeah, right. So if you get super lucky, you get to spout off this bullshit and say, "Oh, it's all about the friends along the way." But it really is, because I think that all of us deep down believe that like, if we could get a second chance and like get all of our wealth cut down and have like 100K and then get to spin it up in this market, that would be one of the most amazing experiences you could ever have, because you get to test yourself once again. And it was always about the game. For everyone that ever succeeded, it was always about the game.
100K is unreasonably low, honestly. But I'm with you. I'm with you if it's like, I'm with you if it's 10 mil or like 1 mil. I'm with you if it's 10 mil or 1 mil.
All right. I'll put up one or two. I think we can
one or two BTC. Is that what you're about to pull out a Gap meme?
No, I think it would be incredible to see the people in this chat start with 100K or a mil and see where they end up, because I guarantee you in 6 months they probably end up at 100x.
You think? Wait, hold on. I need to remove your bear icon off the stream. You think someone with $1 million or 100K, they can 100x in 6 months from now?
Yeah, guaranteed.
How?
I think every one of these guys.
Tell me, I'm in.
Every one of these guys that's in the chat would tell you that they could 100x in 6 months, because the market conditions are such that like, if you have the goods, you can make 100x. And like,
am I allowed to tweet about my bags?
Yes.
Are they on sub 10x leverage?
No, man. Whatever you want to do, man. Like, you got it.
I'm just going to copy Path. Are we all doing it at the same time? Path, can you actually really just handle mine, Path?
All right. So it's the up only challenge. Everybody starts with 100K, and we do the rat race over the next 6 months. See where we're at.
I think I'd bet on Andrew every single time. I think Andrew takes 100K to like 10 mil in about 2 months in this market condition.
Andrew, thoughts?
I mean, I think like literally everybody on this call has at least 100x within the past 2 years, if not like 1 year.
We ended on that.
Is the next 100x as easy as the last 100x? Like,
no, but that's the point. You just reset, right? Donate it all, reset.
T. Boone Pickens, who's an oil magnate, or used to be, I think he passed away. His book is actually called "The First Billion is the Hardest."
But maybe he shouldn't have died. What an asshole!
But to answer your original question, Ledger, like, how do you survive? How do you make a bunch of money? Like, the best kind of data point that I have is just kind of like 2017, 2018 bear market. I remember, both Michael and I putting, 99% of our net worth into Chainlink, ETH, and basically, I remember the day we sold our 401ks at the depths of the bear market to buy more of it. And so if you find something that you like, that you have a lot of conviction in, you don't have to be the best at asset selection, but if you are the best at diamond hands, like that's an entirely different Olympic sport that you can usually win at. And you kind of need to goad yourself into being a little bit of a psychopath. But once you get there, it's actually, it's relatively easy to hold these things, and, don't look at the charts. Don't look at Twitter. It's pretty.
I think that's why I had a natural advantage. I didn't need to do any coaching.
Yeah.
I think you
I
get
think,
it something there.
Sorry to
Go ahead,
sorry
go,
to
please,
interrupt,
please.
but I do think the majority of people that don't make it are the people that lose interest between bull markets. Like people that have known about it from so far back who still haven't made it. It's because as soon as it gets frothy, it gets to the bull market, they rebuy the all-time high breakout. So they rebought at like 20K. And they play the bull market. They're a little bit naturally bearish, and the bear market hits, and they stay interested for about a year. And then towards the tail end, like late 2018, 2019, they just naturally lose interest and they go, oh, this shit's over. I've got life commitments, whatever. And then they get back involved when it starts getting frothy again. And those are the people that are not going to make it. So if there is one piece of advice that I can give, is like find a way to remain the same level of interest that you have now when you check the chart every day, you like lose sleep over your positions, whatever the fuck you're doing, you over leveraged apes. Like you need to have the same level of interest when everything's really boring. Because right now it's like everyone's interested, right? Like my like parents are like super in like what shall I buy? My friends from school way back when are hitting me up saying is Cardano good and whatever. But none of those people are interested in the bottom. None of those people are interested when it's going sideways for 6 months. And if you tell those people at the bottom in the 6 month sideways, now's the time, they fucking ignore you. They're like, nah, it seems a bit risky. Like, it's not for me. I'll look at it later. And then they hit you up in January of this year, like, is it too late to get in, by the way? And you're like, no, just immediately market buy. It's like 25K or something. It's 30K. And they're like, I'm going to wait for a dip. And at 60K, they're like, is it too late to market buy, like you said? And you're like, bro, I have no advice for you anymore. I told you at 4K to buy. I told you at like 6K to buy. I told you at 7K to buy. So the main way you have to make it is try and perpetuate your interest through the boring bit. The boring bit is where the opportunity is, when all these moon boys and all the marketers and all the LARPers, they disappear from Twitter and they don't participate anymore. Their accounts just stop tweeting. That's the bit where you're supposed to be interested and you're supposed to be taking your like next 3 years of positions. Most people that don't make it, they stick around for the fun bit. That's it. Stick around for the boring bit.
I think
You're exactly right, man.
When do we get the quality Sue back?
No, I've got a question. I want to know from Sue, because Cobie, I think you nailed it there in terms of how to go about it. But let's get to now, right? Okay, so I'm going to use myself as Prometheus of the plebs. Okay, the chat is with me. Maybe they stuck with it. They're up only fans, right? Like they listen. You're somewhere. Somebody like me, you're losing 40% of your net worth at the end of the year, right? Like it's just going straight to Uncle Sam. So there's this urgency right now, except for the fact that we're 15, 20x off the bottom. Like Andrew said, like from whatever you allocated towards the degenerate stuff, yeah, you're up a lot. Lifestyle wise, maybe like things look pretty good. You're doing okay. You paid attention during the last market. You're in this was a good investment perspective, and you feel like, okay, you've got till X time, like say end of the year before the tax man hits or something like that. So where is the advantage? Like where's the risk reward play, right? Is it trying to go another multiple like 2021?
I'll take this.
Hold on. I'm almost done. Is it going another multiple 2021, or is it like go slow, secure the win, and wait until it's like right pickings? You know, like you're picking Bitcoin and ETH up off the floor 2 or 3 years from now, whenever like things do turn sour, and then like you've been there, you got 1, maybe 2 cycles under your belt, and then like you freaking Suzu yourself front half of the centipede or whatever. Like how do you? Like, what's the risk reward bet between those two options, or is it both?
I will answer as well, and I'm still listening, but I'm back in a second. I need to get more wine.
So, I think that by this cycle, you're fucking cooked. And like, this is not the cycle that you're not going to make like infinite money. This is the cycle that you learn from people who have made infinite money, and you come back the next cycle. And I know you guys all want to make infinite money on this cycle, and it's okay, but like, you're going to get dusted, and you should definitely avoid this cycle, because everyone who is going to make infinite money in this cycle is already prepared for it like 2 years ago. right? They're like Vance. They were ready 2 years ago. I saw you perking up. They have it, right? Like, and like, it's incredibly difficult as a human being to fight this feeling that like you want this now, but you need to hold on until the next cycle, right? Because this market is solely about human beings, and we're all ecstatic, and that's not the market that you're going to make the outsized returns. Regardless of how bullish things are, the market's going to be when, like, in 1 year or 2 years, or Vance will tell you 3 years or 5 years, like, everyone's going to be super depressed about crypto. They're going to, like, when the price goes down, people are going to reflexively believe that crypto is terrible, and like it turned out to totally be a scam. And that's the moment where you're going to get in. And then if you get in there, then you're going to become like a Vance or an Andrew or a Sue, and you're going to fucking print by believing when other people have given up. But it's not, you're not going to make the outsized returns when everyone else is convinced the market is booming and that it's the right thing to do. Because if you put your money in now very aggressively, regardless of the EV of it, you're never going to be able to, on a relative basis, outperform other people, because everyone gets that crypto is very compelling right now. But the secret was back in 2011, when everyone thought that this was a scam and it was like a drug dealer's fucking Ponzi. That's when you got the money in. And then you rode the cycle up to 2013, and then you get out. And then in 2017, and now again in 2020, everyone thought it was dead and it was trash. But then you rode it up to here. But here, the relative outperformance doesn't exist anymore. It only exists for the people that were already invested like 2 years ago.
Andrew, thoughts?
Vance, yeah, please.
I think this was a very good monologue. For a bear, I agree with most of what you said.
Yeah, but Cobie's a doomer. I need some hope.
Oh, Cobie, you've been around for too many cycles though, huh?
Yeah. I need
Andrew
Vance Sue.
Sorry, I'm gonna give him a second. I'll pass it over. I promise. I don't want to talk over these people who have bigger brains than me. But I went for a drink with Calix yesterday, and basically told him the exact same thing that Light just said. Adjust your expectations down for now. The reason $1.2 billion is aping into Faye is because everyone's here with the exact same motivation, right? They want to go from 100K to 10 million in this cycle. That's their goal. What you should be trying to do in this cycle is set your foundation of wealth. If you were not prepared for this cycle in 2019, 2020, is you set your foundation, earn whatever you can, so that next cycle you can make your 10 mil, whatever. But adjust your expectation down, because whatever your portfolio goal is, you're going to get a tenth of that out at best. Because as soon as you get to that portfolio balance, you're going to adjust it upwards anyway, and you're going to refuse to sell. So I agree. Anyway, Andrew, Vance, Sue, you're smarter than me, so I want to hear what you say.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of this conversation just kind of brought back some old memories, like 2 years ago. Vance, Arthur, Chiang, and I were like showing out in like the Synthetics Discord, and at that time, Synthetics was like, like 5 million, like 20 million market cap, and now it's like a few billion. And we're trying to show this stock to, like other investors in the space, like VCs, and like they didn't give a shit at all. It's kind of crazy to see. And the market structure was completely different then as well, because these DeFi coins, like exchanges didn't want to list them. Like I was like pinging friends like all day, every day, like list shit, like this is serious stuff, like list this shit, and they're like, no, like we have like more important stuff to list. And so like, the only way to get exposure to these coins was on either Uniswap, where, it's like you put in $2,000 and it slips like 2%, or on KuCoin. And at the time, like on KuCoin, if you're buying synthetics, like, you had to like buy like $1,000 at a time, or else it'd go up too much. And, if you saw $30,000 on the ass, that was considered a sell wall. Like you saw 30,000, like, the Discord would be like, man, like, how are we ever going to, get past this thing, right? Because at that time, that was a lot of money, and nobody was deploying the space.
Bro, you were literally buying that Synthetics from me. Like, I sold the 2019 pump on Synthetics. Like, God, I was like, wait, a pump in 2019 is amazing. It's a bear market. I got to get out of this thing.
It's like market make these shit coins too, and like synthetics was trading at like a major discount OTC. So like people were dying to get rid of this thing. They're like, dude, like I will sell this at a negative 15%. Like, just like help me sell this. It's ridiculous.
So
Yeah, that's the story, by the way, about like markets, right? Like when you're supposed to be buying, people are desperately selling to you. They're like, please get me out of this. And then like when people are like, oh, let me tell you about synthetics, that's when you get concerned. I think it's ironic that, Vance, you guys were in synthetics as well, right? Early on.
yeah,
And like you guys knew what it was like when like there was no one there. And now like everyone's telling you about how great synthetics is. And it goes back to my point that like markets are not about fucking assets. They're about human beings, right? Like we're all trading human beings. And like when they get really depressed about things, we buy. And when they get super optimistic about things, we sell back into them. And that was the only thing that crypto was. It was an incredible speculative vehicle.
All right, we gotta get Vance and Sue on the level up talk, and then Cobie can take it.
Yeah, I mean,
What am I going to do? I'm not signed up for whatever.
Light's perspective reminds me of tech bears, over the past 20 years.
Oh, don't do that to me.
What they didn't realize is that things like Snapchat, which started as a dick pic app, like we're actually fun. And the same thing is happening with DeFi today. These are cash flow protected assets, and I'm less focused about who's in the market right now, and are people rotating in and out of stuff. For me, I'm looking at who is yet to come to the market, and I'm in definitely a more privileged position than a lot of people. But the math is very clear. It's a very small door. There's a very fat man that it's about to walk through it, and there's going to be a self-propelling fart,
Gainsey.
which basically pushes the market forward. And so it's very clear to me that this is a math equation, and that the math is on our side, and also like generational dynamics are on our side. And so if you take a longer term time perspective, it's pretty clear that up is the direction, and there's going to be scary dips along the way. So yeah, I'm really bullish. I basically don't agree with anything the Light said.
Vance, what is the hot sauce? What is the hot sauce on your?
What's the
on
hot
the back end
On the shelf up there.
Yeah.
Oh, that's salad.
The people want to know.
It's a salad dressing.
Salad. But yeah, I mean, I think like reasoning through analogy and saying like, everyone's already too rich, they can't get any richer. If this asset class is what I think it is, there's basically going to be no upper limit, and there's going to be a lot of scams that pump alongside the good stuff. But, people are thirsty for yields, and that comes in a very kind of potent way in DeFi, and it's hard to replicate. So I'm super bullish. I think NFTs will go through their own cycle alongside it. But it's pretty clear to me that the direction is up.
Sue?
Also, like objectively, it's untrue that it's actually been harder to 100x during the bull market than like buying the bear market and selling the bull. I think that's kind of the trope that people like to think about, almost like when they're like no coiners. They imagine these like OGs huddled in a room and they all bought the coins really cheap, and then and then there's the pump, and then the whales sell the dump, and which they all know is coming, right? The kind of that concept. But like you just think about like even like BSC, right? There's like a new generation of BSC OGs that are up like 100x on some of these coins, and like and that stuff with like the TVL and that is high. There's Solana people now that are up 100x on various. There's 100x's in Kusama and in Polkadot. There's 100x's everywhere in the bull market, and I think that you could say it's a sign of fraud, but I actually think it's a sign of that there's a lot of activity happening and there's a lot of interest, and I think that like for people, going back to the original question, like how do you 100x now? How do you 10x now? I think like you do have to put in work and figure out what things people are showing you are scams and what things people are showing you are the real thing. And you also, like, I don't agree with the idea that because you get in lower at a higher price than someone else, that therefore you don't buy it. That's actually one of the most pernicious ways to think that you can ever have. Because the guy who showed you, if he's right, he did a lot more work than you did. And you should thank him for showing you that coin, right?
Yeah,
I mean,
shout out to Multicoin for
right,
killing this space.
like synthetics, I've been shilled since 2 cents, and Arthur, he sent me a 33-page paper on synthetics, and I said, like, I'm not reading 33 pages of this. And I had no problem buying a lot of synthetics at prices that were far higher than what you guys entered at, and it's still up 20x since I bought it, and so like I think I don't have any ego about buying it higher than someone else, and I think that you shouldn't have that ego either. You should see it as you do the research yourself and you figure out the things that people tell you about, and then you go in and you actually think these are reasonable. Remember, I think I called Rune a scam, and then later on I bought a bunch of Rune because I realized I was wrong. And like being wrong is okay, but being stubbornly wrong is very dangerous. And you should just actually not even invest if you're stubbornly wrong. You should just actually help people invest for you, because being stubborn in this space is very dangerous. And the idea that because you miss something that you miss it forever is also a huge mistake, because like missing something early but then knowing it later but understanding it better actually is a big blessing, because then it gives you understand why it will now go 20x, whereas the guy who bought it low, he's now like selling it in the 2019 pump because he thinks it's like know why it's pumping. So if it's pumping and you know why and you are the reason for the pump as well, then it's kind of that's actually the perfect storm to really do well. And so I don't agree at all with the logic that you had to be the specific guy who bought the specific coin at this one weird time, and that's how you'd make it. I think there's people making it.
There was a really strong. I've seen Andrew buy things later after he missed them, and that's like super impressive, right? Because like he
Arthur
disagreed. Yeah. I love those guys.
Yeah, I mean, the VCs that I respect the most is that people who have passed on a seed round and then bought 6 months later at 500x the seed round, because they realized, okay, our initial thesis was wrong, or the reasons we passed have now been validated. So we can make a bet on it now, and that means it's a safer bet now. Now the thesis is justified. Like people that can do that make a lot of sense. People that stick to their soundbite argument about why this is bad, that has been harped on and repeated since however long, and they just they refuse to take on new information and adapt. Those people are not going to make it, dude.
Path, the people demand your view on the market.
Up.
Can we get more than one word?
No.
Up only.
Yeah. You're welcome.
Yo, can I just get into given this up only, and I'm the bear. I just want to. There's like a bunch of new guys who are like looking at this, and a bunch of like people that are older who are like wish they had like done better, and like I think that the dead on truth is that like we all wish that like we got rich with our friends, and like makes me super happy. Yeah.
Light is so wasted.
but listen, all of you motherfuckers, it's better to get rich with your friends, because that's what we did, and I think it would be better to like run it back apart from the fucking wealth, because like a bunch of people look at us and are like, what the fuck? But like it's better to be like broke and try to spin it up than to fucking deal with this bullshit. Deal with Cobie laughing at you because you're drunk.
Well put.
Yeah.
Well put.
I was just laughing because the only person that's bearish on this stream just said they wished they'd made it.
Well, he also said he had a couple $100 million in liquidity if he needed to like toss it in higher. So I mean, I think he'll be all right.
Yeah,
I saw you on those Russian shows, Cobie.
Yeah, the SARS of Rugistan. Sub earlier said that like 10 million is the like base starting point that he finds acceptable.
Yeah, that was the scariest part. I was like,
the problem is gas. No, I think it's. See, the problem is like with 100K, you actually can't afford to use Ethereum right now.
No, come on.
You need at least
100K, bro. No,
how do you even ape day? How do you even ape day with 100K? You're gonna go broke.
Yeah, y'all talked about that on the last Uncommon Core. Like literally, well, I think you're right. If you go a year like spinning gas as if it's normal transactions, you're gonna spend 100K at current Ethereum prices in a year.
So if you have a mill, you're gonna lose 10%. You're gonna lose
Ledger,
10% on
how
fees.
can you say that, man? You sorry, bro. Like, if you don't have over a mil, you just can't participate. Is that really?
Dude,
you gotta go to Solana or BSC.
Yeah.
I'm
then
telling
L2s, and then L2 when it comes.
you joke, but y'all are all like crazy rich, and that's like what's happening with people. People are going to BSC. They're like going through the moon. Like freaking Pancake Swap is $20. It was 40 cents when I was farming it in the fall, and I didn't hold any of it because I'm like, literally the tail of the centipede. And I should have 7 figures off that one like tiny little play, right? And everybody's jumping over there. They don't care about anything else. It's the only thing they can afford. It's like the gas is nothing on BSC and elsewhere, and Ethereum is like 0.2 ETH to like transact with any like real trade. And it's like that has to be solved before people level up on the east side.
Yeah. Yo, Andrew has like a good view. He's pancake. He's got like a rabbit face and like the pancake on top of the head. They got the best things in the game.
What the fuck is he saying?
No, you know it.
It's a really good meme.
Yeah.
Half the reason why I bought PancakeSwap was because of the meme. It's a really good indicator of the community, how good the memes are, right? Because there's a lot of stickiness if people have good memes because they can just spam it all over the place.
Yeah, I really respect their their social efforts and like the personalization of PancakeSwap and the way they've done it. Like I think they've made the most of like a clone project is really all it is. It's just clone project for plebs, and they've done a great job with it. And now it's like a $3 billion valuation or something crazy.
Is that the biggest BSC project?
Clone project? I mean, they've done more than SushiSwap and Uniswap in terms of like product build out. Not in terms of like the crazy like V3 stuff, but in terms of like ancillary project like products, right? So like they have like IFOs, right? Like SushiSwap has been trying to do that for months now, and like they have an IFO every other week, and they like collect hundreds of millions of dollars in each IFO. They have like a lot.
I'd like to take this moment.
Quieter, you're killing me.
I'd like to take this moment to announce to the chat that Ledger Status was delivered $400 worth of PancakeSwap for free. For free. Any mentions of PancakeSwap on Up Only TV might be a paid sponsorship. We're not totally certain.
Bro.
Ledger Status was delivered free PancakeSwap 6 months ago.
It was in September, and they were like, they just were hustling in the DMs, and I was like, sure, you can send me $100 worth of PancakeSwap. They sent me $100 PancakeSwap and one BNB. Today, that's worth like $5,500, and I was like, if I just put my entire net worth in this equivalent trade and did jack shit for like 7-8 months, I would be multiples wealthier than I am currently. And it's like the smoothest, lowest IQ move of just like, oh yeah, fees high, go PancakeSwap. Like it's just like freaking moons. And yes, I'm coping per the chat.
All right, guys, I gotta run. It's 2:30.
I gotta run, dude.
All right, should we call it? But first, I want to hear some path. I want to hear some path knowledge. Anyone needs to drop. Welcome to drop. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Peace.
Y'all are wonderful.
Path. Tell us. You said up. We want to know how you're playing the market. We want to know what's coming up. We want to know what you're thinking.
I think you could have a good leveraged breakout trade for Bitcoin and Ethereum here.
So you think Coinbase is a catalyst? Do you think it's bullish?
I think it's bullish. Yeah, sure. And I'm long Zcash actually looks good for the first time ever.
Bro, you've been long Zcash since 2013. It wasn't even fucking released yet.
Yeah, pretty much.
You got, what told the future on Zcash for you was the first trade you ever made on Zcash was that you bought cloud mining contracts on Zcash and you got rugged. That set the tone for the entire Zcash trade. The whole thing has been a constant rug. How much did you lose on the cloud mining contracts?
Oh God! I put at least 5 Bitcoin into it. I can't remember exactly. So if I put that in Ethereum instead, don't want to think about it. But it might have been like 15. It could have been, yeah. Oh well, it happened.
Right.
Yeah, I think it looks good. But then all the shit comes in. So,
Was it Light? Was it you, or was it Dan who said they wanted to talk to an NFT influencer?
No, it's probably me, huh?
Well, we've got one right now. Cryptopathic. Look at his background. He's got a dragon there.
No.
That's a real life NFT.
Yo, Cryptopathic is like the best sort of like influencer where he's just like, yeah, I'm just doing my shit.
Thank you.
Like, I'm not trying to. There's much worse crypto NFT influencers where they're trying to like make money and stuff. I don't think our boy is trying to make money. He's just trying to hang out.
You just got a bit caught on the screen.
Like, if somebody was going to draw a picture and say, like, what does your, like, prototypical NFT collector look like? It'd just be Path, like, with this exact scene. The background,
I think
the
so.
dragons, the collectibles, the Harry Potter glasses, all of the above.
I think so.
Path, just guide us through this market. You said up, but, like, what's behind the thesis? Last I heard, Path was like potentially leaning bearish through the grapevine.
Really?
Oh God,
I don't know. You would have said that, but yeah, no, I'm very bullish. Still, the 4-hour RSI almost went oversold, but it didn't. So, new highs confirmed.
New highs confirmed.
Yeah.
All right,
I'm Irish goodbying this because Fred said I was too drunk.
Yeah, I mean, like, you seem pretty drunk, dude.
Yeah, right. That's on you, Cobie. That's on you, Cobie.
Can you give us another breathalyzer? We want to see if it's up only.
Yeah. One sec. All right, hold on. Do you have a breathalyzer, Cobie?
Do I? No, because I've never committed an offense that involved alcohol.
You've never got a DUI?
In my car without breathalyzing before I started.
Yo, so I bought a 68 Shelby in a country that I don't even live in. Questionable, right?
Yeah.
We just lost Andrew.
Yeah.
Andrew's gone. The stream's winding up. It's going to be over soon. We just need to breathalyze, and then we can go.
I hear it.
Yeah, I can hear him too.
Wait, hold on. We got it. What's the final number? I bet it's over 0.2. No, maybe not. oh my fucking God. 0.24, boys.
Oh my.
Well, good. Ledger, that's not an amaretto in a sipping glass.
No, it's not. You're doing the real
quick
stuff.
Minute. Yeah. All right, I'm gonna drop out. You boys take care of the rest.
Thank you.
Right, before you go, you're pretty drunk. You need to give some free alpha for the chat. So in these streams, we give a message, some wisdom that's either been passed down through your family's bloodline, or through a mentor or a group of friends, or maybe from a digital artist from Twitter. Shout out, people pleaser, who passed on some alpha to you that you live your life by. Now, what do you have to the chat that you can pass on that's going to help them make it? What do they need to know? What's the free alpha? Give us a life learning.
Yeah, do the opposite of whatever you're about to do, and also don't do whatever people pleaser does, because she donated $500,000 and she didn't even have it. Support people pleaser, and just whatever you're inclined to do, don't do that.
Counter trade yourself.
Counter trade yourself. Don't believe in yourself. Believe in me, believing in Cobie, believing in you.
All right, Light, you need to go to bed, mate. You need to go to bed.
Right?
Path, we need the same thing.
Path,
we need the same
talk
thing.
Talk about NFTs.
Free alpha for the chat. Give us a life lesson before the stream ends.
I don't think I can even follow up on that. I don't know.
Counter trade yourself.
Incredible. I don't know.
You've got nothing, have you? You're fully stumped.
Did you hear much of the stream before you came on?
I watched a little bit of it, not that much.
Yeah. All right. So we need. Here's what I need, Cobie. I'd like to finish with this if we can. If we got a couple minutes, it's like they're all like, mega wealthy. They manage funds. Like they have to stay involved, right? Like there's some incentive, right, to say up only all the time. You have the ability to liquidate everything at any time. My God, Cobie, those pants. What's happening with those pants?
Well, you don't like them?
No, I think they're great. I'm just very impressed.
They're bright yellow, and my socks are mixed panel socks. Mixed panel.
Shout out Mixed Panel, not a sponsor.
Imagine not having Lambo pants, mate. Do you not have Lambo pants? What are you wearing? Show us your pants. Come on. Lower body docs. If you don't do it, it means you're wearing nothing.
So Pat, you can liquidate.
What is this? What is this stream?
You can liquidate everything at any time you want. Like you have no incentive to like perma pump the market other than you make more money, but you have total control, no partners, nothing to deal with. What's your take? The unbiased view, like multiples from here.
Saying why are you still here? Why are you still here?
Yeah, sure. We can phrase it that way.
I think we can see like 100, 200K potentially this year. After that, I'm probably done trading because I can't. Yeah, sure. After that, I'll probably just be holding and not paying too much attention. Maybe like flipping NFTs or altcoins or whatever. But yeah, but it's fun.
How are you
going to
fill the void? How are you going to fill the void? World of Warcraft?
No more of that. I'm done. I got Gladiator the other day. It took like weeks.
What did you think about Tetranode? What did you think about Tetranode's 100K ETH prediction?
That's possible. Yeah, I think so. Depends how much usage ETH sees. Like it could take another decade, but like if banks start using it for DeFi and like it replaces banks and stuff, that could absolutely happen, I think.
Someone in chat just said, I'd like to fill Path's void.
I don't know what that means. Cobie, I think we've like fully overplayed our stay today.
Yeah, I think it's true. I think it is. I mean, we're at 2 hours 30, dude.
Yeah.
We're at 2 hours 30.
It was a long one, but you brought on a lot of smart people. So, we had to eke out as much alpha as we possibly could. Like they literally they abandoned us. We were like, yeah, we'll go on this show. And then we're like 2.5 hours later, you're still here. Continue the alpha.
But where's Suze? Suze in like Singapore?
Yeah, Suze like it was 2 a.m. for him. He's like, I got to get out
Yeah,
of here.
It's 2:30. It's 2:30 in the morning now. Yeah, and like Vance and CMS, they've got a job, dude. They had to go to their meetings. It was like, oh, sorry, I was late. I was on Up Only TV. like they've got shit to do. They've got a job. Like Vance has got LPs to take care of. He's managing other people's money. Like they watch him on this shit. Like loads of people drinking.
Do you ever wonder what the thousands of people in chat are actually doing? Like, do they not have jobs? Or are
That's
they just
a good point.
doing this on their job? That's a good point.
Chat, can you spam what you're currently supposed to be doing, but instead you're doing this? Like Satstar, I just saw Satstar in the chat again. He's got no job, has he? He's like 12. He's the new path. Sleep, trading, job,
we're all supposed
learning,
to be working.
Work. 5 a.m. here. Student.
It makes me think that
spreadsheets.
It makes me think maybe there's a little bit of room for added productivity across the world. Like the economy could be a little more productive if 3,000 people can be here with us.
Bro, it's COVID. Everyone's self-employed. Let's wrap it up. This is the end. Path, we need to give you a free alpha. Have you thought of anything?
What NFT should I buy right now?
NFT. So Foundation's really cool. You can get lots of like first art pieces from artists on there who like some of them have loads and loads of followers, but their followers don't use crypto or anything. So the pieces go really cheap. I think you need to treat NFTs like you would actual like art investing at this point. Like because there's been a big NFT premium. And
what's your favorite shitcoin?
My favorite Zcash, obviously.
I can give my free alpha for the chart.
Give it.
Don't listen to any crypto Twitter high follower accounts that are selling you an IDO. Everyone on crypto Twitter is like, thank you so much that 2017 is in the past. That was so scammy. ICOs were such a scam. Now they're shilling IDOs, which is the exact same thing, except you've got to retweet 2 people and tag a friend to get in. Those people, they got added to the seed round for a massive discount. And the deal was, we'll let you invest at this price. And then if you retweet our IDO, like you'll get the cheap price. Like they're just selling you ICOs, but they've been paid to do it. But they haven't even been paid in a cool way. They didn't get money straight up. They didn't just like, we'll give you some money. It was like, you give us your money for cheap, and then you sell our coin for us, and then hopefully your bag will go up. Like, that is just an ICO. It's the same fucking thing. So don't listen to any of those fucking people. The influencers on Twitter, I get all the offers. I've got 300,000 followers or some shit. They come to me and they say, do you want to do this shit? And I just ignore them. So I see all the stuff.
They don't even deserve the response.
I ignore them. I see all the stuff. Then other people start shilling it. They start retweeting it. And I'm like, bro, I got the same fucking offer. I see what you're doing. Don't listen to any of those fucking people. Those people, they're just trying to dump shit on you because they're getting paid. They missed the bull market. In March 2020, they got fucking liquidated. They lost 90% of their fucking balance. Now they're trying to recoup. They feel bad because they missed out. They missed out on this entire bull run. They had low conviction. They're marketers dressed up as traders. They had low conviction. And they're trying to recoup their shit positions because they've seen this bull market. They're like, I should have been rich. I'm not rich. I fucked it. They have fucked it. And now they're trying to fuck you. They're trying to recoup their losses by fucking you with the same fucking shit stuff that was happening in 2017. All of it's a scam. Don't listen to any of them. Don't trust anyone with a high follower account if they're trying to sell you something. Generally, it's for their own interest. That's all I've got.
Great speech.
See you next time.
Uponly.tv /
DM me.
People pleaser.
DM me.
People pleaser. Please DM Cobie. She's probably in the chat. Uponly.tv / Blockfolio. Trade there today. Thank you for being here with us today. Go to uponly.tv. Check out the show. Get the show notes, the YouTube. We're on podcasts. We're everywhere you want to be. You be there today. Thanks for being here with us. We'll catch you next time.